Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Only one type of burger. For every pallet. Fries are extra. Large in size. We've got the shakes. Going over the brim.
Hey, this is Chris from JCW's. Put a positive, delicious spin on your day at any one of our 5 locations. In Lehigh, American Fork, Provo, South Jordan, or Harriman. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Monday morning. So much going on. Utah Jazz losing a couple games. The Mammoth getting a big win against the Kings Saturday night. And, of course, we're down to the Final Four. Duke, what are you doing, man? You're up by 19. Stop turning the ball over. Stop falling down. Oh, never mind. Go home. UConn advances. What a comeback. What a comeback by UConn. We'll get to all of that coming up. We're going to start with a little spring football to get you going. Kelly Poppinga, new defensive coordinator at BYU, meeting with the media. Here is Kelly Poppinga.
General question, just kind of assess the defense, what you've seen through spring practices.
Yeah, just consistency. Like today ended really well. We just got to get the start a little bit better, but I was really pleased the way that we finished practice. There's a drive here or there where you're just like, those are the ones that keep you up at night, but I just think we got great players. We got some players that are out right now, so we have those pieces back in the fall. I'm super encouraged. Just really just the consistency part that that we got to get better at. But I think that's something you're always fighting. But we'll get there.
As far as position groups go, let's start with linebacker. Kate Uluwave and the guy from Kansas State. What has their impact been, and how are they going to help?
Yeah, Kate and Jake have been great, man. They've I thought both of them have performed really well. They picked up the defense really fast. Both of them are super smart guys. Very talented, very versatile. I think they can do a lot of different stuff for us. But yeah, we just need some leadership qualities to start to come out. I think when you're a transfer, you're kind of in that middle ground of trying to figure out what's my role, what kind of leadership can I have. I haven't been here. There's other leaders, so I think they're still trying to figure that out. But they're perfect fits for this place. As far as just their personalities and the characteristics that we're looking for, and as far as players go, it's exactly what we're looking for.
How beneficial could that be for a guy like Ciala, who saw a lot of reps and now gets that added competition?
Yeah, no, the competition in the room is going to be fierce. It's going to be fun. I'm really excited to see how it all unfolds in the fall. We got great depth. Now we just got to get everybody, on the same page and making sure we're executing at eye level, and the consistency part like I talked about earlier. But yeah, I'm excited to have a room like we have where there's great depth. Coach Anna did a pretty good job of recruiting those guys in, and I'm kind of taking all the the benefits from it. But it's I just feel like it's like that at every position really too as well. Yeah, I feel the depth on the team for the most part is excellent.
Justin Kirkland was a guy who wasn't able to perform like people wanted. He's back. Is he healthy? And what have you seen from Justin?
Justin's had a great spring, way different than the fall. He's healthy. He was a little banged up in the springtime or in the fall, but now he's healthy and he's going. And I feel like he's just playing with better pad level. He's lost a little bit of weight. He's leaner, more mobile. He's playing super physical. He's hard to move. You try to single block that guy, good luck. A really strong, big, athletic guy that we need in the inside to help us play great defense.
What do you feel is this?
How important do you think spring ball is for the development of your defense?
Yeah, I think for the most part for the youth, I think it's the most important. The guys that are inexperienced, right? So for even Cade, that's an experienced football player, just getting him used to our defense. Jake as well, kind of the same thing. But these new, I think it's the most valuable for these freshmen that are coming in, and guys that maybe haven't played a lot, that have a lot of game experience, that don't have a lot of game experience. Those are the guys that benefited from it the most. But you get in the camaraderie part of it more in fall camp, because there's a lot of guys that are out right now. I looked over there today and I'm seeing, Ciala Sarah's out, Isaiah Glasker's out, Evan Johnson's out. I mean, we got a bunch of key pieces that are out that are, nothing serious, but we'll have them all back. But it's just, once we get all the pieces together, I think we have a chance to be good. But that's, what I told them after practice today, we can talk about it all we want, and people can tell us how great we're going to be. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. We got to go put all the work in on the field, and take all the steps and go through the process, what it's going to take for us to be great.
What's the strength of your defense, you feel, heading into the final week of spring ball?
Man, it's a great question. I think we have strengths everywhere. I think leadership. If I'd have to say anything right now, I feel really good about our leadership. I think Keanu Tanavasa has done a great job there. I think Evan Johnson does a great job with the back end. Raider and Fale and Tommy Prasis, I think, great job in the safety room. I feel like leadership in every room is really good. Hunter Clegg with the outside backers, I think it's as good as I've seen since I've been here. And so it's kind of like we got to make sure we just stay out of the way and let them do their thing. A player-led team, something I learned from Bronco a long time ago, like a player-led team is way better than a coach-led team, right? So if we have to sit there and hound them and be on them all the time, we just don't have the right guys and we don't have the right team. But this team is a team that's holding themselves accountable, holding a high standard. Really, as coaches, we really don't have to say or do much. The players are doing that for us right now.
The guy that you just brought up, Tommy Parasis, maybe I'm curious on him, how he's progressed this year, because last year dealt with some injuries. How's he progressed? Is he kind of back to his original form?
Tommy looks great. Yeah, he looks as good as I've seen him. In that competition between Raider and Fale and him is awesome, and there'll be times where maybe all three of them are on the field at one time. But I feel great with the safety room. Kenan Pula is another guy that's come along that we've been really pleased with. Jaron Kalama. I think that safety room is competitive. It's competitive everywhere, which is just a great sign of the depth that we have on our team. That's what it's going to be. And so for you to play early, man, you got to come in and learn the defense quick and get bought into the culture and the system fast. And I think that's happening. And it's fun to see the older guys really teach these younger guys too as well. And Tommy's been one of the best examples of helping these younger guys grow in that system, that safety.
You were on the field as a special teams coordinator. I couldn't help but notice when I was walking into practice today at the building, I saw you on the balcony. Does that mean you'll be like in the box or something? How will that work?
Just practice. Mitch, man, just seeing what I want to do, could be on I don't know, honestly. I think, in my first 13 years of my career, I was up in the box. So every season I was with Bronco, except for maybe one. At Virginia, I was up in the box. I think it was my last year at Virginia, I came down on the field, and so ever since then, I've been on the field. So my year at Boise, I was on the field. My last 3 years, I've been on the field. And so really just seeing what I like, honestly. And so I've had a couple times up in the box and a couple of times down on the field in these scrimmage situations, and just seeing what vibe is best. I don't know. I just, what worked for Coach Hill or what works for other coaches might not work for me, right? So I'm trying to see what's best for us, as a team, and we'll get to it. But yeah, right now it might be both. Who knows? Maybe there's some coaches that go up and then they come down at halftime. I don't know what it'll be, but we'll find out will help our team be the best that we can be.
Just to kind of play off that question, how's this defensive coordinator thing going for you? First spring practice, what have you learned?
Yeah, I've learned a lot. There's a lot to manage is what I'm learning, as far as just I think back to my time with other coordinators, and whenever a position coach has a question, you go in and ask the coordinator. And now I'm realizing there's like 5 other guys coming to me asking those questions of how you want something done. And so, just being able to get everybody on the same page, getting everybody coordinated, and doing it the way that we want to do it is the most important. It's not. I'm not about like what I want. It's what we want and what we're best at. And there's a lot of really good coaches in that room that have a lot of really good ideas and experience. And so we got to use all the resources that we have to help us be successful.
There's Kelly Poppinga talking BYU football. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I mentioned the Utah Mammoth got a nice win over the weekend. We'll get to that next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Reminder to join Scotty G tomorrow from noon to 3 at Tim Dolly Mazda, 10785 South Auto Mall Drive in Sandy. Big win for the Mammoth. They get it cranked up. 3 goals in the first, 2 more in the second. They win 6-2. They beat the Kings. Big step towards the playoffs right there. Let's get more with the best of the Mammoth postgame show.
DJ and PK, the Utah Mammoth got back on track Saturday night in Los Angeles with a convincing 6-2 win over the LA Kings. Alexander Kerfoot got the scoring started 2 minutes and 31 seconds into the game, and Utah took the victory to improve to 38-30-6 on the season, and they would end Saturday night with a 5-point lead on Nashville, who currently holds the second wildcard spot, and a 6-point lead on the Kings, the first team currently on the outside of the playoffs. Big 4-point swing for Utah on Saturday night in LA. It'd be a 3-goal first period for Utah. First, Kerfoot at 2:31, and then Logan Cooley with his first of 2 got the Mammoth a 2-0 lead.
And this Mammoth team trying to keep their composure. Look out, Cooley in front, scores! Logan Cooley catches the Hail Mary and stashes it right past Kemper to make it 2-0.
LA quickly answered, but Logan Cooley for the second straight game in the final 10 seconds of the first period on the power play would give Utah a 3-1 lead.
Floating one into Cooley as he tries to dance in, and he scores! What a goal from Logan Cooley. Lights, camera, Cooley.
3-1 in the second. Then the Mammoth would get another one from Alexander Kerfoot.
Kerfoot drags, holding up traffic. Kerfoot shoots, and they score! Kerfoot's got a pair tonight, and it's 4-1.
And now the Utah power plays red hot. 5 for 9 over the last 3 games. Nick Schmaltz got another one for Utah on the 5-on-4, his 27th.
Dylan Gunther leads the team with 8 power play goals. Sergachev with a slap shot off the stick of Mikey Anderson. In front, they score. It's Nick Schmaltz. 5-1. And the Mammoth are pouring them in here at Crypto.com Arena.
Kings make it 5-2 in the third before an empty netter from Jack McBain makes it 6-2. And Utah gets the win. Mammoth now 14-7-2 since December 3rd on the road as they win their 6th straight game to start a multi-game road trip. They'll be in Seattle coming up on Thursday, Vancouver on Saturday, as Utah finishes the month of March with a record of 7-5-2 with the struggles at home, but it could have been a monster month of March. Utah led in 14 of the 15 games played during the third month of 2026. For Utah, 5th time in the last 7 games, they get at least 4 goals in a game. It was the 9th time this year that they lead for at least 54 minutes, 3rd longest they've held a lead in a game, going from tape to tape, scoring early, finishing late, and beating the LA Kings by a count of 6-2. Let's hear what the guys thought after the game. Mikhail Sergachev with 4 assists, his 2nd straight game for Utah with at least 3 helpers.
You emphasize the importance of that win.
Yeah, obviously it's a battle for the playoffs, and they're right behind us, and was a kind of a 4-point game for us, and it's huge. But I like their composure today. They scored a couple big goals. They had the push in the third. We stayed with it, and we just kept playing our game, and it paid off. Yeah.
You had 4 assists today, a career high. What was your personal mission in today's game?
To win the game. Most of those assists I think were secondary, so it's a bit of luck and playmaking by our good players. And, yeah.
You guys played with assertiveness, aggressiveness, and confidence. Where did you pull from that in the details of this game?
I mean, we've been playing well lately, and obviously we didn't have much time to practice, but we just talked about it. We watched some video that we needed some more pace in the D zone. On their D, put the puck behind them, and that usual stuff. And we saw it, and we saw it's working, and it worked tonight. So that's what worked.
I feel like this is the best game we've seen from the power play in a little bit. It was just clicking every single time it was out there. What did you see from the power play today?
We had a shot mentality. Everything started with a shot, and then it opened up, and our elite players made some elite plays, and it paid off. So simplicity is the key, I think.
In the past 2 games, Andres had to swap out the goaltenders. In this game, the defense really helped support the goaltending. Goaltending obviously played well. How big is it to not have your goaltender really be in danger and really have the confidence to keep him in the whole game?
I think he was in danger tonight, and he made some key stops, and he played unbelievable. And pulling or not pulling, previous game, it doesn't matter. We're all for Veggie and V, and they're all for us. They do their jobs, we do our jobs, and sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it works. But most of the time, if they keep playing like that, we're going to win more than we're going to lose. And we have a lot of trust in our goalies when they're amazing.
You guys got a 4-day break from games. How rewarding is that, and how necessary is that, especially with all the really high-intensity games you guys have been playing?
I think it's like a much-needed break. Obviously you want to stay in it, but we're going to have some time to practice, tweak a couple things, and maybe relax for a little bit, and enjoy some time with the family and recharge and go back at it. And I think it's very important.
How key was that goal right before the end of the first half? Kopitar had cut it to 2-1. You guys get the power play goal with, I think, 8 or 9 seconds left in the period.
Yeah, obviously it's important, and our power play hasn't been great this year, and lately it has been. And scoring that big goal, it just shows the composure of the guys, and that the guys are not going down easily, with one goal. So it's and the focus of the whole team. It's great.
How did you guys not let the moment get too big? I mean, obviously you guys know what's on the line, but today felt like you guys were more than locked in.
I don't know. We had a couple meetings a couple of days before and talked about it, and we know what we got to do. We're just a young team, Sometimes emotions get the best of us, like last game, and we talked about it. And today, when emotions were getting the best of us, we settled it down, leaders, coaches, and it worked.
Thanks, Sergei.
Thank you.
Sergachev now joins Jack Hughes and Zach Werenski as the only 3 NHL defensemen this year to have 2 straight games with at least 3 assists. 2 goals for Alexander Kerfoot. He's now got 3 in his last 3 games. We heard from him after the contest as well.
So Sergei used the word composure for this game. How can you assess the way you guys played? Obviously, a really big win for your group.
Yeah, I mean, we've been getting off some really good starts and then haven't been able to capitalize and finish, play a full 60. I thought we did a great job in the second. Power play was huge, getting a goal there at the end of the first to kind of give us a little momentum. We carried that into the second, and we didn't let up.
There were, I think, 8 or 9 guys with points tonight, or if not more. In terms of the contributions across the board, what went into the team effort?
I mean, well, we scored 6 goals. When you score 6 goals, lots of guys are going to get involved. We're not going to score 6 goals every night, but tonight was one of those nights. I thought that we had 4 lines going for the most part. I mean, they got their looks. Their top line created some chances, and they were throwing pucks at net, getting tips, deflections, screens in front. We can do a better job containing in the D zone, putting pressure and pace. They don't have as much time to make plays, but overall, it's a great win, and we'll enjoy this and move on to Seattle.
How important was special teams tonight?
Yeah, huge. I mean, power play's been clicking. They have done a great job the last few games here, getting hot at the right time, and when they're clicking, they're dangerous. And then that's a dangerous power play. We killed them all off tonight, I think. So we just got to, special teams this time of year are huge. It's hard to score, hard to get chances. So when you get those opportunities, you want to make good on them, and you got to be dialed in to stop the opposing team.
And knowing what's been on the line, obviously, especially down this stretch, how did you guys not let the moment get too big?
We just went out and play. I think that one of the great things about our group is that, we just enjoy ourselves. I think that it can, if you think too much or if you worry too much about what might happen or what could go wrong, you can get yourselves in trouble. We almost got like a youthful excitement to our team where we haven't had any scars for the most part. We're not scared of much, not scared of failing, and so we just gotta enjoy the moment, keep that as long as we can, enjoy this stretch, realize that these are hard games to win, and the job's far from done, but we're in a good spot.
Sergachev tied the franchise record for assists in a game. Just what stood out about his offensive game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, he's elite. Like when he's going, he can do everything. He can skate, he can make plays offensively, he can shut guys down defensively. He's physical. He can do it all, and when he gets the power play going like they were tonight, they were clicking. Made a great play to Cools in that first goal. So when he's going, our team's at our best, and he was great tonight, and he's been great for the majority of the year.
Big game for Karel Vejmelka as he stopped 29 of 31 for his 33rd win of the year. He hasn't lost 2 straight games but once since December 12th, and another nice bounce back from Vejmelka and Utah goaltending in this one as the Mammoth win special teams 2-0. 4th game this year that they've won by at least 4 goals. Pretty complete performance from the Mammoth. We heard from head coach Andre Cherney after the game as well.
Unbelievable commitment from the boys. They were engaged, intense. Our gap was phenomenal. The D played a hell of a game, all of them. Our 6D played really, really solid. Like the way we play in our zone, and obviously that generated offense for us. Our forecheck was really good, especially early in the game, and our special team were elite as well. So it's a great night.
What stood out to you about the composure of your group tonight?
Everything. The way we were back at being as stingy as we can be, and we saw in the third, okay, human nature. We back up a little bit and we give them some life. So I think we have everything in that game to. I don't think we need to prove it to prove to ourselves, but still, it showed when we're that tight in the neutral zone, that tight in our zone. We're extremely tough to play against, and I assume we back up a little bit and give time and space. We give life at the other team, but really like the way we play defensively.
What allowed the special teams on both sides to click the way it did today?
Well, I think our PK was solid. We didn't make a lot of mistake. Seriously, it was really good. You could see the guys were in mission. They had poise with the puck on the PK, and they were very quick at applying pressure. They did a really good job. And on the power play, I think you could see the aggression. And it's a word I use a lot, but it's exactly that. We attack quickly. We had fire in our eyes. Just a funny thing in the third on our power play. The guys were rolling, and the second unit said, wow, they're fun to watch. They should stay there. So that was pretty cool for them to say that.
Some really great performances from your guys across the board, but Kerfoot tonight, him obviously missing a good chunk of the season and coming back, he's still wanting to improve himself, but what'd you see?
I will say in the last week he really improved. I think his drive to the net, he has a better net presence. He wins big face-off for us. Kerfoot is a guy who... a little bit of Swiss Army knife where he can do everything. He's a good offensive player where he has poise with the puck and create possession, but as well as super reliable defensively, really good read, super smart, and he has the intensity. So we're fortunate to have him and to have that kind of a depth.
The last 2 games, you've had to swap your goaltender out, not because their performance, but the team's performance in front of them. Today, you have to do that. What did you think of them standing up for Veggie and Veggie?
I think it's like I always say. The problem was everybody, and the success is everybody. We help Veg today by not giving a ton of quality. But Veg was rock solid when we did give quality, because you will. It's a game of mistake. It's impossible to not give any quality looks in the game. Then your goalie has to be sharp and come tall, which he did.
And you mentioned quality mistakes. The last game, the emotions just caught up in the physicality. And today, the Kings were trying to egg you on, but kept your cool.
We learned a little bit. I think that was great. The guys stay with it. There's a time to fix those things, and there's time to get the 2 points, and ideally you can do both in the same game. So tonight I like our composure, and I like the way we answer the bell.
It's a 4-day break now from games. How rewarding is that, especially with all the physical games you guys have?
Yeah, that's important at this time of the year. I will say it's a different break than others in a sense of we need to take it really seriously of making sure we manage it right. We have a really important game coming back. It's a team who's chasing us, who have game in hand. So it will be important for us to be ready against Seattle. But first, let's make sure we manage the break the right way.
I mentioned the words aggressive and assertive and confident in the first period with you. In terms of where you see this group, maybe over the course of the season, where does this game rank in terms of those things?
What our group has been able to do is bounce back many times, and they did it again tonight. I think the word Crosser uses commitment of doing the right thing, and our commitment is elite. Really proud of the boys for that.
So as we said, off until Thursday, the Mammoth will be back here in Salt Lake. Couple practice days. The Utah Mammoth Ice Center, really their only extended time the rest of the regular season before the playoffs start to get in a couple practice days. They'll be back in action Thursday in Seattle. We'll be radio only with a nationally televised game on Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Hockey Night in Utah at 7 right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. But we're with you all week long on Mammoth Daily, wherever you get your podcasts. On today's episode, top 5 stories of the week, Monday morning power play, and we'll give you our final thoughts on LA, look ahead to the rest of the week, and the wild card race in the NHL. All coming up on Mammoth Daily, and then we're back on the radio Thursday. DJ and PK, have a good rest of your Monday, and I'll be back Friday to recap, hopefully, a win against the Kraken.
There is the best of the Mammoth postgame show. When we come back, the Utah Jazz lose a couple games, and David Locke takes a look forward. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Did you know dental pain is the top reason children miss school? Dental disease in children is almost entirely preventable. Good habits start early with brushing, regular dental visits, and fluoride protection. Your smile matters. Find resources at yoursmileutah.org.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The Utah Jazz played twice this weekend and went back-to-back. Nearly beat Denver. That was scary, but they gave up a 15-3 run in the last 3 minutes and lost the game. Whew! Dodged a victory right there. And then they went to Phoenix and got blown out. Absolutely blown out on the second night of the back-to-back. Here's the best of the postgame show.
DJ and PK, a very happy Monday morning to you. The Utah Jazz on Saturday night fell to the Phoenix Suns 134-109 after a very good game on Friday. A tough loss to the Denver Nuggets, but the Jazz played well. They look exhausted on Saturday against the Suns team that hadn't played since last Tuesday. So a bit of a scheduled loss there from the NBA. The Jazz coming in with no rest, traveling cities, while Phoenix had been sitting at home for 4 days preparing for this game. Both teams were 1-6 going into Saturday night's contest, and Phoenix still pushing for the playoffs. Made it look like a lopsided run as they win by 35 points in the game, 25 points in the game. But you look at who played well for the Utah Jazz. Kyle Filipowski and Bryce Sensabaugh still able to get out there with 26 points. Bryce Sensabaugh played 33 minutes while Kyle Filipowski added 29. He also had 9 rebounds and 3 assists, but it was not enough to keep the Jazz engaged. They were down big at halftime, and Phoenix coasted to an easy victory. Here's what head coach Will Hardy had to say after the game.
It's a hard game, second night of a back-to-back. I thought that, Phoenix's tempo and physicality bothered us. They hurt us in a lot of different ways, but it seemed like, our response on a back-to-back wasn't great. They had us spinning defensively. They had 21 offensive rebounds. They turned us over a lot early in the game. We were able to get out in transition, and it just put us behind. We got to bounce back and move on to the next one.
What did you think of Speed being able to come in 9 minutes, 14 points, the way he's able to just turn it on?
Yeah, Speed's a pro, and he stays ready, works hard every day on his game and his body to be ready when he's called upon. Tonight's obviously a great example of his ability to maintain focus even when he's out of the rotation.
There he is, head coach Will Hardy on Saturday night as the Utah Jazz fell to the Phoenix Suns 134-109. The Suns were led by Jalen Green, who had 31 points. Devin Booker also turned in a routine 26 points on just 8 of 14 shooting. A very easy night at work for the Phoenix Suns as the Jazz looked exhausted on the second night of the back-to-back. The Jazz will return home tonight to take on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell making his return to town. Cleveland looking for wins as they are locked in that 4 spot right now, or in that 4 spot, maybe trying to climb up to 3 if they want it. That'll be an interesting thing to watch. Does Cleveland maybe try and boot a game or two down the stretch? Maybe they want to sit in that 4 spot so they can face the Detroit Pistons in the first or in the second round of the playoffs versus, maybe having to face a very good Boston team, a dangerous Boston team with Jason Tatum back in the opening round of the playoffs. So the Jazz find themselves in a tough spot, having lost a couple back-to-back and playing the third to final home game of the season for the Jazz tonight when they take on Cleveland. You look at the standings right now with the losses for the Jazz, they are nearly locked in to that 5th worst record in the NBA. Friday night, the Dallas Mavericks got a big victory over the Portland Trailblazers, putting 3 wins between them and the Utah Jazz. With just 7 or 8 games to go now for both of these teams, the Jazz find themselves in a spot where they're probably going to look at the lottery, having the 5th best odds to emerge, and that's a tight spot to be in. It's a good spot for the Jazz to be in. It means they would have about a 99.4% chance of holding on to their draft pick, which was a big key in this season, especially after Walker Kessler got hurt. You knew what the Jazz were trying to accomplish, and it looks like they're going to find a way to do that. And luckily, they've been able to avoid a lot of losses like we saw on Saturday night against the Phoenix Suns. While the Jazz were blown out in that one, it's not been the most common. We've seen the Jazz go out there and put up some effort because the young players have really gotten better under the tutelage of Will Hardy. Again, the Utah Jazz fall to the Phoenix Suns 134-109. Back in action for 2 games against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then they will face off against the Denver Nuggets later this week before heading back on the road.
There is the best of the post-game show. Now, while David Locke was in Denver on the start of that back-to-back, he spoke with PK about the team. Here's David Locke with PK.
Okay, the Jazz, they are in Denver tonight. Phoenix tomorrow, a 2-game road trip. 9 games left. This looks like they surprised me by losing, especially in the manner that they did, to the Washington Wizards the other night, but obviously going up against Denver, which is one of the better teams in the league. And I think people are sleeping on Denver, so I would think that the Jazz would have a relatively easy time losing tonight. Can they compete? Yeah, maybe so. We'll see how that goes. But I do think Denver's a team to watch out, even though they're sitting, what are they, like 4th in the Western Conference. Joining us now is the play-by-play man, David Locke. You got Riley Jensen and me. Mr. Locke, good morning. How are you?
Every Friday morning, I wake up and I know my week is complete because I get to spend it with 2 of the legends of all time, David James and Patrick Ham. I get 30 minutes through osmosis, through the phone line, where I get connected to greatness, pure genius, consistency, day in and day out. And yet today, they bring in someone who might be much more helpful to me in life than either David James or Patrick Ham. They bring Riley Jensen. They finally figured it out that the lunatic is actually on the edge, not going to actually make it through every day, and needs a little guidance from a professional. Riley Jensen, great to chat with you.
Wow. I mean, with that kind of an intro, I got to come up with like a pretty good question here.
Well, you don't have to come up with anything because PK has led me into my favorite conversation right now, and what was like my entire dinner conversation last night, and what I'm super fired up about, and that is like the weird dynamics of a bunch of teams in the Western Conference right now. So let's talk about it, PK.
Yeah, I think that the Nuggets, I like them. I didn't like them as much last year. Obviously, they won the title a couple years back, but then I thought they lost stuff. And now I think to what level remains to be seen, but I think they're closer to what they were when they won the title this year than they've been in the last couple.
Okay, so I'm assuming there's a question mark on the end of that. I'll just continue.
Yeah.
So first thing I would say, and then also you're going to have to interrupt me here because I have This is like I'm going to diarrhea them out there because I have so many thoughts. So they're who I picked to win it. So from the beginning of the year, I don't like what I've seen that much this year.
Why not?
I just feel like there's some. First of all, they're not closing games like they used to. And maybe that's just a few injuries. Cameron Johnson really has been a disappointment.
He has. I
hasn't
agree.
melded nearly as well. And there's just something there's something a little off on them. It's been surprising to me. Their offense is the best in the NBA. I think that really matters. I guess when they get down to it defensively, they'll probably buck up in the playoffs, and maybe they still are the right pick. And Jokic is just incredible. And then there are a bunch of metrics that actually the slower the game gets, the better they get. And so I think that'll help them, and they're actually offensive rebounding a little bit. But there's two things that just don't feel right to me. One is the fact that they've just had so many injuries. And if you look through the history of the league, and they're finally healthy, it's not an injury report with 13 players on it like I've been watching all week, is that those teams actually don't usually, they'll get healthy and they'll pull it together. That actually doesn't usually happen for whatever reason. And so I'm a little concerned on that. And then just late game stuff, the Jokic, Murray, pure dominance, late in the game, just always making plays, always just hasn't been there this year. And I'm just a big believer that the late game is the best indicator of what's happening. This is where I will continue. The flip side is Houston. Houston is so jacked. The other word starts with an F. They are like, I don't know the word to use because the only words to use on them correctly are swear words. I've never seen a team so jacked up. Like, they're ruined. They're destroyed. Their game against Minnesota the other night, watching their late game, I mean, Durant literally ran around the floor for 4 minutes just pouting. Hands up in the corner like he was a 12-year-old. Why don't I get the ball? Hands on the hip. Udoka has to call timeout to get him back focused. He then goes scores 11 straight to bring them back in the game. And Alfred Sengun's like, well, I want the ball. So he takes the ball at the top and starts dribbling and going one-on-one from 35 feet because he knows there's zero chance he can go post up and get a ball from anyone. Amon Thompson the whole time is just sitting around wondering, when do I get my turn? They've looked that way all year. All year long, I've said, if you watch Houston late games, it looks like a tug-of-war. Now it doesn't look like a tug-of-war. Now it just looks like a flat-out street brawl of how much they each want the ball and don't like each other. Alfred Sengun makes this unbelievable play late in the game where he blocks a Julius Randle layup where Durant had fouled him, goes over the top, saves the game with a block shot, bloodies his mouth. Durant doesn't pick him up, give him a high five or anything. They're out in the first round. They hate each other. How's that? There's the flip side. The West is crazy right now. Minnesota can't do anything but play isolation. They keep trying. Chris Finch keeps trying to put in this motion offense and do all these other things with them right now, and they can't do anything but play isolation. Julius Randle just can't help himself. And frankly, the minute Julius Randle starts playing isolation, then Ant starts playing isolation when he's not in right now. And they don't have a point guard. Neither Houston or Minnesota have a point guard. And it's actually kind of an interesting thing in this positionless style that you need that guy. Houston desperately misses Fred VanVleet, if you really believe he's a point guard. Mike Conley did start the other night, but only because they were desperate, and he just doesn't have his legs are gone. I think he's like 3 of his last 40 from 3.
Yeah.
He can't play in the playoffs. So those two teams, here are these two loaded teams that are like, supposed to be really good. Minnesota's back-to-back Western Conference Finals, and I watched them. Part of me wonders if Minnesota could click back in. They just know how to play in the playoffs or something. Houston, I would just love to play them in the first round. I mean, Durant's scary, but I would just love to play them in the first round if I was another team. And then you have, I'm just going to keep going. I mean, this was last night's dinner. This was awesome. We just all were talking about it. The Lakers are hot right now, but it's actually 3-point variance. Opponents have gone, all of a sudden, shooting 30% from 3 against them. That's just luck. If you put the number back to normal, their defense goes back to 18th or 19th. So back to Denver. Yes, Denver is probably the third competitor to San Antonio and Oklahoma City, but to me, they just don't feel quite right. How's that? I actually tied it up in a bow at the end.
Yeah.
So, Riley, if you had a patient that just started babbling for 17 straight minutes, what would you do?
I would continue to listen, and then I would probably raise my eyebrow and repeat the last 4 words that you said and put a question mark on it and keep you talking.
No, keep me going. Okay.
Yeah,
I like it.
Because the more information I get, the better I can help.
You know Larry King. You guys remember Larry King, the old show on CNN?
His son,
married to
his son lives here in Utah.
Okay. So he was the greatest interviewer ever in the history of television. And I studied, he had books of all his interviews, and I read them all and studied them. And the most common questions he asked, how, why, explain. He asked more one-word questions and just gave his guests momentum.
Yeah. I loved what you went through there. I mean, I was particularly interested in Houston when you're talking about all this body language and all these guys fighting for the ball. It was a little bit what we talked about yesterday with constructing a team with Tim Lacombe, and how you can't just have 7 guys that are fighting each other for the ball. You have to have a couple of guys that score, and then a couple of guys that are willing to play the roles that need to be played in basketball. And it sounds like that's what's happening at Houston right now.
And let's be really honest about it, by the way. We're going to be really, really good next year. We're going to deal with this.
Well, I wanted to ask you about this. I think did you tweet a little while ago something about the myth of losing culture? Did I see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a big joke.
So
this is the biggest joke in the NBA.
So this is the one thing that I want to ask you though. What's the thing that you're seeing from the young players this season that makes you optimistic about how quickly they can turn it around next year? Because I think that's the big question for everybody, right?
Yeah, so there's about 3 things here. This is long. We could do a dissertation on this. So, okay, the first thing is that our culture changed the minute we traded for Jaren Jackson Jr. Like, I literally can tell you the day it happened. We went from being bad to being good, just talent-wise.
Yeah.
There's no sport in the world where an individual player can change. This is why we have tanking. There's no sport in the world where one individual player changes the entire dynamics of a team. In football, you can get a quarterback. You still got to have an offensive line. But in basketball, if you just get that guy, it's different. So Cleveland lost 62 games and LeBron resigned, and their culture changed the next day. And they were great. So that's the first thing. The second thing about this that I think people really misunderstand about the NBA, and it's the biggest misnomer in the league, is continuity. To me, when I hear a general manager tell me about continuity, that means you copped out and didn't do your job in the offseason. Because you know what? There's actually nothing continuous. The season stops, and then it starts again 5 months later. Everyone's contract's on a different status. Everybody's at a different stage in their career than they just were. There isn't actually continuity. You might have togetherness. You might have a Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic relationship that is your 2 best players, and you're building off that. But you're changing every piece around it. There's no such thing as continuity. The best way it's been described to me by an NBA coach, without being disrespectful to the people that are putting their lives, it's like being on a military assignment. And you go for a period of time with a group of people, and you come back, and then they send you back out again. And with no disrespect to the fact that those people are risking their lives, right? Like, that's a very different concept, but at least conceptually from a group culture standpoint, if you read Sebastian Junger's Tribe, it's a very good parallel. So the culture changes on October 1st of the next year, immediately on the first day, because it's different people. And the other one is just that there's just no track record that shows you can, that the players, if there's a cultural problem, it's not the players, it's the ownership. You have bad ownership or bad management or an inability to get good players, and that's incompetence. I'm not sure it's culture.
That's fair.
Now, you can have Kevin Durant, Alfred Sengun, and Amon Thompson, and I just made a pretty good case they got a busted culture. Right? I'm watching that team. Yeah. That team has no culture, but that has nothing to do with that. That might exist, but that doesn't have to do with losing. It actually has to do with the opposite. I might argue that, and Will has been very outspoken about how proud he is of his guys, that they've held together. The cultural issue that you would have in this group would be that Isaiah Collier looks at Keontae Jordan like, you are sitting in front of $50 million from me, and I'm just not going to play along with you. And that Bryce Sensabaugh looks at Blake Hinton when he comes in and is like, I'm not playing along with you either because you're sitting in front of my $40 million. And these guys haven't done that, which is great. But the fact of the matter is, when we're really, really good, 4 of them are going to be on the team.
Understood. I think that you hear coaches talk about this all the time. In order to win, people have to sacrifice, right? So you got somebody like Keontae George, who this season, as he's had a breakout, really hasn't had to sacrifice. What type of adjustments will this team have to have when they are sacrificing for the sake of winning?
No, mean, I think this should be, how we do a hypothetical conversation about this every single day in the offseason on something we've never seen before. I don't know, but this should be the conversation of the offseason. Because right now, Lauri Markkanen probably, I don't have the numbers in front of me if you pull it up, but I guess Lauri Markkanen takes about 17, 18 shots a game. And Jaren Jackson's going to want 17 or 18 shots a game. And Ace Bailey's going to be ready for 16 or 17 shots a game. And Keontae George is trying to prove that he's an all-star, and he's going to want 18 shots a game.
Right.
And that's a problem.
Right.
Because that's 75 shots, and there's only 86 a game, and they're not all playing together. So this is going to be an issue. Like, we're great. I'm so glad this is our issue, right? But we're going to be really, really, really good next year, and we're going to have an issue. And, and purely on Keontae, to the level of, like, this is, to some extent, Keontae's been amazing this year. Let me be perfectly clear. It's awesome the work he and his assistant coach Chris Jones have done and the way Keontae's grown. And as a human, how he's grown has been, Riley would be one of the coolest things you've ever been around. As a sports psychologist, to watch Keontae this year, day to day, would be one of the coolest things you've ever been around. Okay, right. With that said, he's ranked as the worst defensive player in the NBA for 2 years in a row. And that's cute when you lose 60 games a year and no one really says anything. But when you're trying to win 55 games a year, that's not okay anymore.
Yep.
Like, this has been, like, miserably difficult in the sense of, like, you're losing and there's not this. But there's nothing been hard about this. What's really, really, really hard in the NBA is to win 55 games. And Denver, to me, a little bit, when we go back to Denver, what Denver looks like to me a little bit is that it's just been hard for a long time and they're a little off. Maybe tired. Maybe it's just worn them down a little bit. They've been trying to win for a long time. And it's really a lot of work to win in the league. It's a lot easier to roll out and play 48 minutes with no intention to win.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I agree with that. I mean, you didn't even talk about Walker Kessler and his FGAs because this season, I mean, mind-blowingly enough, he shot 75% from the three-point line.
Right, in his 4 games, yes. But Walker Kessler's not going to want 1 shot a game.
Right?
I mean,
he's not going to play defense if you're going to give him 1 shot a game.
Right. I mean, Quinn Snyder used to always say, like, hey, we got to slow the game down a little bit and put the ball in Rudy's hands and let him touch it and hand it off and do a few things with it, or else he's not coming back to play defense on the other side.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And, like, I know everybody wants Zubac back, which we could have some long debate about, but, like, he's a very high possession usage center and the least efficient center in the NBA offensively.
Yeah. And you didn't even mention about Ace Bailey's development because it might get stifled.
Right. Well, I don't think you can stifle that.
Well, I mean, you got these high-end dudes who want, and Lowry's averaging 19 shots a game. As you say.
No, this is real. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the first things is Will's going to have to really, this is what will be interesting, is Will has always been a very fluid coach. And I'm not sure he's going to be able to be nearly as fluid with his substitution patterns because I think he's going to have to be very regimented that, okay, Lowry likes to play 3 stints, so we open the game in the first 6 minutes, they're all on the floor. But at the 6-minute mark, Lowry goes out, and so does Keontae. And the backup point guard comes in with now Ace Bailey and Jaren Jackson are getting the possessions. And then at the 9-minute mark, Jaren Jackson goes out, and then Ace Bailey's getting the possessions for the next 3 minutes. And then Lowry comes back in and shares them with, like, I think there's going to have to be really a lot of, like, which 2 guys are on the floor at the same time to be able to make sure that everyone gets their touches and their allocation. It's going to be really complicated. Great. I love this.
Yeah, I do too.
We could be really, really good, but it's not simple.
All right, there's David Locke with PK. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Just top.
Mom,
Can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag Utah Jazz.
Our response on a back-to-back wasn't great. They had us spinning defensively. They had 21 offensive rebounds. They turned us over a lot early in the game. We were able to get out in transition, and it just put us behind. We got to bounce back and move on to the next one.
The Utah Jazz suffer a pair of losses over the weekend. They nearly won against Denver, but critically, they gave up a 15-3 run to close the game, and they lose 135-129. Then they get blown out by Phoenix. And PK, combined with the other results around the league, it looks like they are locked into the 5th worst record in the NBA. Mission accomplished in Denver. That got a little touchy there for a minute.
Well, yeah, but then he sat the guys in the fourth quarter,
Yep.
so... If you're sitting Filipowski and who else, Sensabaugh, so you don't win, I guess that's a positive in that they were in that game, and Denver's Jamal Murray needs to hit some big shots and smacking his chest. A bunch of guys.
I know, was that crazy?
So that's sort of good news.
Celebrating like they won a playoff game.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter to them, but the point for me is that maybe those guys. That others have dismissed to a degree, maybe they can be players in this league. I'm talking about Flipper and Sensabaugh and Cody Williams. Cody went home to Phoenix and laid an egg, but other than that, maybe there's something there that they can round out a decent rotation on the cheap. Jazz are back at it tonight. Donovan Mitchell, former Aggie Sam Merrill, and the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Delta Center. Tip-off at 7 o'clock. Pre-game starts at 6 o'clock here on The Zone. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
You buying the Celtics, PK? They got 50 wins for the 5th straight year. Jaylen Brown said he was giving a little bit of grief there to people who said this would be a gap year because of the Jason Tatum injury. Like their chances of coming out of the East?
Well, I guess if 50 wins is something to celebrate, then he should smack talk, but see what they do in the postseason. I like their chances probably as good as anybody's.
Yeah, it does look like a big old toss-up there in the East. We'll see who's healthy when we get to the playoffs. That's been a major problem for a lot of those teams. The Sixers got Tyrese Maxey back, and Embiid, Paul George, they were all playing. And Philly beat Charlotte 118-114. And Dallas picked up win number 24, so they moved 3 games beyond the Jazz. But the Jazz didn't get any help last night when the Kings got beat. So they're still sitting on 19 wins. It seems unlikely after they lost to the Nets that they'll get to 21 like the Jazz are. So that pretty much should settle that. Luka Doncic out, 16 technical fouls. So you got to be suspended for a game. He'll sit out the game tonight against the Wizards. They ought to be able to beat the Wizards without him. Good time to get that suspension. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college basketball.
Just about 10 minutes ago, ESPN reporting that Northern Iowa's head coach, Ben Jacobson, is accepting a 5-year deal to coach at Utah State. The Aggies get another guy who doesn't on the surface seem to have any local ties, does he, PK?
Not that I'm aware of, but who knows? I had no idea. You weren't here last week when we found out Joe Flacco's father went to BYU. So who knows?
Who does know? He'd been at North Dakota and North Dakota State as an assistant before he moved to Northern Iowa. And he's been there as an assistant and a head coach, almost forever, it seems like.
Almost forever.
Forever. 25 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, he's 55 years old, so he's a little bit different than the other guys who were younger.
Yeah. Yep. The Final Four is set in dramatic fashion. UConn from 19 points down and a steal with 5 seconds to go, and a shot from the edge of the logo goes in with less than a second to go, and UConn with an epic rally into the Final Four, joining Michigan, who'd gotten there with a blowout. It's about as entertaining as it gets. Braylon Mullins letting one rip from the logo and winning the game.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there, man. I've let a few rip in my life.
Let it rip, PK. Let it rip. Not the same thing.
Oh.
You buy in Arizona, they're in the Final Four. That's been a major.
I don't have enough money to buy
program.
Arizona and the Celtics. I can only choose one or the other.
I'll choose them both. Come on.
Sure, why wouldn't you buy them? I mean, they've won easily most of the season. You don't buy them by now, you're never going to buy them.
BYU women's program will take on Kansas today. WBIT semifinals, 3 o'clock on ESPNU. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
Philadelphia Eagles general manager Howie Roseman said he's responding to every inquiry about wide receiver A.J. Brown by saying A.J. Brown is a member of the Eagles, despite his mercurial attitude towards the team's offense. Careful not to make any promises. Why make promises in pro sports, PK? He is a member of the Eagles. That's not debatable. But, a day from now, a week from now, a month from now, who knows?
Well, I don't think it's a promise that he's an Eagle. It's just to increase his trade value.
Yeah. And they'll wait to he's got a clause in his contract coming up, and there's a date where it'll be easier on the cap to move him then, so it may just be buying time right now.
And that might open up some space for Cubby.
Yeah, you're right. You never know. Cleveland Browns recently altered some of the language in Myles Garrett's contract, but that was not a precursor to them trading the NFL's reigning Defensive Player of the Year. That's according to General Manager Andrew Berry. He got a 4-year extension last year. The change spreads a dead cap hit that he could incur over multiple years. So we'll see if they're just doing that to help themselves with the cap right now, or if they are actually going to move him down the line. John Lynch says concerns about the 49ers' practice fields and the training being adjacent to a power substation and rumors of heightened injury concerns were a big nothing burger. They hired an independent scientist to study the substation to see if there are any issues on the players on the practice field that's nearby. So that ought to clear that up for the conspiracy theorists.
It's a nothing burger, whatever that means.
The NFL is set to begin hiring and onboarding replacement officials in the coming weeks. A stalemate with the NFL's Referees Association continuing to wear on. Training of the replacements will begin May 1. Prepare yourself for a whole new set of refs and the controversy that inevitably come with it. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Opening series in the book, PK. Anybody you're surprised with right out of the gate?
No.
Anybody catch your attention?
How about you?
The NL West getting drilled. What happened? 3 teams got swept. That caught my attention. The Padres went 1-2, and there are the Dodgers, 3-0, already running away with everything.
Yeah, who cares if they did whatever they did? The Dodgers are going to win it anyway.
Yeah. The Yankees dominated the Giants, only gave up 1 run in 3 games. That caught my attention. That's I don't know if that's Yankee pitching or Giant bats or just a 3-game aberration, but getting outscored 13-1 in the season opening series, that was pretty rough for the Giants and pretty impressive for the Yankees. DJ and PK.
Hashtag golf.
Gary Woodland wins the Houston Open by 5 shots. First time he's won on tour since the U.S. Open in 2019. It's been a wild journey, but he cruises to a 5-shot win in Houston.
Yeah, it was emotional for him, obviously. He's had some big-time setbacks that he's had to battle through. And to get that one, you could tell it really meant a lot.
Tony Finau finished tied for 39th, 6 under. His Masters chances fading here. Patrick Fishburne missed the cut. Might not have Tony at Augusta. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NHL.
Unbelievable commitment from the boys. They were engaged, intense. Our gap was phenomenal. The D played a hell of a game, all of them. Our 6D played really, really solid. Like the way we play in our zone, and obviously that generated offense for us. Our forecheck was really good, especially early in the game. And our special team were elite as well. So it's a great night.
That is the head coach, Andre Tourney, Utah Mammoth, beating the Kings, dominating the Kings, winning 6-2. You never really know what you're going to get out of this team, PK, and they showed it once again. They've had games that were struggles, and then they have games where it looks so easy. And it looked easy as they thrashed the Kings.
Yeah, that was something I guess that they needed. But I don't know that their confidence is that fragile that they needed as opposed to a 3-2 win is what I'm saying. I mean, they need wins, obviously, but I'm not sure that means that they're more confident or they desperately needed that to increase their confidence. They need wins to, as Armstrong says, to see an X by their name in the standings, which means they've clinched a playoff spot. So I'm not so caught up in the fact that they rolled and 6 goals and beating the team by 4 obviously is a lot, as opposed to the win and moving forward towards the playoff. I just don't see their confidence being that fragile that, wow, now they're really going to take off.
Yeah, I wouldn't guarantee that with what we've seen up and down and all that. Who knows? I think to your point, it's about the win. That was a 4-point swing. The Kings are literally the 9th place team, the first team out of the playoffs, and they're now 6 points in front of them. And if they lost that game, they would have only been 2 points in front of them. So obviously it was a big win, but I would just go with what it did for giving them a little separation in the race as opposed to, who knows how they're going to play. They don't play again until Thursday, and who knows how they'll play when they come out for that game. But that gave them a little separation with the Kings, which now that we're getting down to, depending on the team, 8, 9, 10 games to go, 6 points feels like a lot. That feels significant right now. Yeah. Obviously, it's not clinched, but it's a big boost. They'll go to Seattle, play the Kraken Thursday night. That is their next game. And then right before the playoffs, the Vegas Golden Knights, who are in the middle of a wild race in the Pacific Division, fired their head coach, Bruce Cassidy, out with 8 games left in their season. They hire longtime NHL head coach John Tortorella as his replacement, and we'll see if they get into the playoffs and how they're set up. The possibility that they could play Utah in the first round, although right now Anaheim has surged ahead in that division and is the likely first-round opponent, but still a little ways to go. 2.5 weeks left before we get to the playoffs. All right, that's what is trending. There are your headlines. What is trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small, and get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Coming up, Steve Cleveland, former BYU basketball coach, joins us at 8 o'clock. Barry Tramel, sports columnist for the Tulsa World, at 9 o'clock. The question of the day is next. Stay with us.
This is JJ and Alex. I got this.
And the Mammoth obviously have a lot of work cut out for them still, because they are now at a point where, again, I hate looking at the percentages, JJ. Doesn't it make you nervous to go, yeah, right now they sit at 76.5% to be that wild card 1 team. There's so much hockey still left to be played.
Yeah, that percentage can drop quickly if you lose 4 straight again. Overall, you're looking at where this team is at. They're in that number 1 wild card spot. They control their own destiny. I would rather be in that number 1 wild card spot than in the number 3 central spot, because if you're the Wild, you're either playing the Avalanche or the Stars in the first round. That's brutal.
It is.
I would rather be the Mammoth. You're going to be playing a first-round playoff series against the Ducks, and then you get the winner of the Oilers and Knights in the next round. I'd rather do that than get the Stars or Avalanche in the second round. If they're in that number 1 wild card spot, with as good as that team is, there's a path for them to go on a long run in the playoffs, not just win a series.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 7 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it. asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Did you know fluoride is not available in Utah water systems? And fluoride supplements work best from 6 months to 16 years old. A healthy smile isn't just about teeth. It's about health and confidence. Your smile matters. Find resources at yoursmileutah.org.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
All right, question of the morning. Hot takes or toast? The Big Ten gets two teams, Michigan and Illinois, into the Final Four. Are we clear that the Big Ten is now the best conference in football and basketball? BK, people just aren't buying that. We are not clear. Russell, yeah, sure, whatever. Ben, we are not clear. Ben's not buying it. Ryan, was there confusion? Okay, we found one Big Ten fan in the group right there. What it comes down to for most people is they're arguing the basketball, not the football. Al, most years the conversation is usually the Big Ten was a disappointment in basketball. And also we've got people pointing out they haven't won the title since Izzo and Michigan State in 2000. So need a little more out of them before saying they're dominant. Could just be a blip. Could be a one-off.
Okay, well, if you're admitting it's a one-off, then you're saying yes.
Two teams in the Final Four this year. Yes, I would say that. There are people now. The leagues are so big. There's 18 teams. Two teams can't drag a whole conference along. They're bigger than that. That's Mike's take. Two of the Final Four, you get to beat your chest. But are you dominating it? And maybe I'm just getting my perception colored, but the SEC beating on its chest in football, where year after year, they had two of the Final Four. They had the champ. It's the SEC's world. We're all living in it. It'd take more than 1 year. This year, yes. And the other thing is, I think there tends to be more carryover in football because you don't lose everybody, whereas in basketball, because the top guys are eligible for the draft after 1 year instead of after 3, I mean, your odds of keeping an elite player are really small between the transfer portal, eligibility running out, and guys bolting for the draft after a year or two. It is really hard to stay dominant. I mean, last year, the SEC they had a great NCAA tournament last year. They were awesome.
But we're not talking about last
this
year.
They're invisible. I know, but it changes in a year.
Okay.
You had a good year,
then we'll
but
have
you
the
don't dominate
discussion
the
next
sport.
year, God willing. But we're having it right now. We're not having it last year. We're not having it next year.
They've had the best year, but they're not dominant. But this year, they're the best.
Well,
but I think they'd like to claim a level of dominance that I'm not going to concede.
Who said anything about dominant? It's the question. Find the word dominant in the question, and I'll give you $1,000. We said the best.
They are the best this year.
Well, that's the question.
They're not dominant.
Okay.
It doesn't say this year. It doesn't say this year. It says,
yes,
are we
it does.
clear the
They
Big
get
Ten
two teams in the final. In order to get two teams in the final, that is this year. I don't know how many teams are going to be in the final next year. So, it doesn't say it, but if you got a brain, you can figure it out. Hey, the teams are in the final this year. This is when you're talking present tense. Do you need to spell out this year and this year only? They got two teams in the Final Four this year, and they had two other teams. They had two other games in which Big Ten was playing Big Ten, so Big Ten had to lose.
They're going to knock themselves out. Gary says no SEC teams, and that is great. He doesn't care about the Big Ten. He just wants the SEC out. And they're out. Okay, so they're the best. There it is. Should we just sit here quietly now for a few minutes?
Well, you want to say that they're not?
They are this year.
Marky Mark, your Mark, says that the Big 10, Big 12 is the second best basketball league. No, it's not.
Who have you got as the second best basketball league?
That gets you, well, the Big 10. I mean, that's what he's making a point that we're the second best behind the NBA. So we're talking about the second best, and then you asked me who the second best is.
Got it. I thought you meant the second best in college. I was
That's
forgetting the
not
NBA
what Marky Mark, your Mark says.
Yeah, well, Marky Mark needs more out of his teams in the tournament to back that up.
Right. That's where who cares what you do in the regular season, because you have to have a first-place team in every conference. Whether you're good or not, it doesn't matter. But you have to have one because you're playing each other. So you're going to be judged by the NCAA tournament. You're not going to be judged on your non-conference. You're going to be judged on what you do in the tournament. Right? I mean, I don't see how other way. And the Big Ten, to me, they're the best. And
they get to beat their chests this year. There's no doubt about it.
And in football, they're the best. I don't see any other argument. And so that's why I'm saying, are we clear? Yes. No one said they're going to dominate for the next decade. I have no clue.
Well, they'd like to think. They got a lot of money. Can they press that advantage and get on a big run in both these sports?
Yeah, I mean, what best teams don't have a lot of money? What great teams? Arizona spends $22.5 million on basketball. And you can look that up. I mean, that's just an enormous amount of money. I mean, why do you think players go there? They've been paying guys for years and years.
Years.
They go there because the 75-year-olds that sit in the first 20 rows are great fans and all that stuff. I mean,
yeah, you know, the desert landscapes, the saguaro cactus, the 75-year-olds in the first row. Yeah.
I mean,
and the cash.
Yeah,
and the
that's
cash
where they
is
put
good.
their emphasis, and it's smart for them to put their emphasis there because they can make something out of it. I mean, they've never really played for anything that matters in football. Softball, they've been very good, and baseball, they've been good at times for sure. Yeah, no doubt about that. But basketball, they had a few blips here and there, but other than that, they've been really good for a long time. And you'd have to say that the money that they're putting in, they're getting back, and it's working for them. I mean, I would think that who knows? But I would think that they'd be the favorite. I haven't seen any odds, and I don't understand basketball odds anyway. But, I mean, they've sure looked good. They've looked good basically since November. If I'm just going to go strictly on resume, they look the best.
Arizona the best, and then Michigan, and that's the semifinal Saturday.
Yeah. And there's some thought, should they reseed it? Sure, but it's not like you can reseed based on seeds. You're just going to have to reseed based on Ken Palm or something.
Yeah.
So it would be hard to do, and why buy yourself more grief? You take grief on the way you set things up usually, although basketball, the committee doesn't seem to get as much grief as football. For one, it doesn't matter as much. Football is the driving force overwhelmingly. And then when you're letting in so many teams, we're going to quibble between a 1 and a 2 seed or a 3 and a 4 seed or whatever. That seems a little pointless. So they seed the way they seed. And this year it looks like the two best teams on paper anyway, for what that matters, are going to face each other in the semis. But that doesn't mean that whoever wins can't have a great game against whoever wins between Arizona and Michigan on Monday, a week from tonight. And, I mean, it could be a last-second game and as thrilling as can be, too, just like the Duke UConn game was. So I don't really have a qualm about that. I can't say, oh, man, that stinks. They should have reseeded. I'm not so concerned about that. If they do it, it's not like that one year, several years ago, the Suns and the Spurs went 7, and then I think they played the Spurs won in that controversial thing where a couple of Suns guys, including Stoudemire, were suspended. And then they played the Nets and beat them 4-0. I mean, that was a big come down. I mean, who knows? I mean, we're talking about Arizona, but at the same time, wow, Michigan, that was a tidal wave that was unstoppable yesterday. I mean, I felt bad for Tennessee. I wouldn't think there's that big of a difference between those two teams, but yet when they played on that day, March 29, in the middle of the afternoon, our time, man, it really was. I mean, Michigan I don't know that I've ever seen a team look as dominant in a regional final. If I have, I certainly can't remember. I mean, that was a blowout of epic proportion. Hard for me to imagine that they'll have 2 more games like that. If they do, then wow, they may go down as one of the greatest teams ever.
33-point blowouts in regional finals don't happen every day, but that is pretty much how they've treated people. I mean, it's been all double digits, and only one team stayed within 20 in these 4 tournament games. I mean, they've just been annihilating people. 21-point win, 23-point win, 13 over Alabama, and then the Tennessee blowout.
Yeah, they took it to another level, though. I mean, that was everything was going their way. I mean, they just couldn't be stopped. It's like some baseball team getting 15 hits in a row or something outrageous, or soccer team scoring 2 goals.
Ooh. Well, that's a game. I mean, they could reseed because they seed them even on the one line. It's, you know who the first, second, third, and fourth 1 seeds are. So they could reseed them if they want, but you're right. It is a headache. It's not what they've traditionally done. They're going to get a massive game out of it, so what the heck?
I don't see any point in it. And then the ratings Monday will take care of themselves because it's literally the final. So maybe they get and they I guess they did that. TV did that by putting the Arizona-Michigan game second. So they didn't necessarily, obviously they didn't reseed, but they placed it where they thought they can get a bigger bang. I assume that's why they're doing it.
Yeah. They usually put the more attractive game as the second one, figuring later at night more people are free to watch it, and it usually pays off.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with UConn, Illinois, but Arizona, Michigan, those are 2 teams that, like you said, people have been talking about both these teams since November. So here it is.
And I want to see
1 seed versus 1 seed, 2 heavyweights.
Well, I want to see Michigan win. So on Monday in Annapolis, I can see Whittingham there in a Michigan polo.
Will he be there Saturday?
Probably. I don't know what they have spring football wise.
Yeah.
I don't know what their schedule is. I know I can tell you through conversation that they're in the middle of it right now. I know that, but I don't know what if they have practice on Saturday because you're limited to 15 spread over 4 or 5 weeks. So they may have Saturday off, and maybe he can get there. Everything in that part of the country seems about 4 hours away. So wouldn't be that hard. And there'll be some booster that would fly him over, and the president or whoever, I assume the president would already be there on the Saturday. So maybe he'll be there on Saturday. I mean, we see that all the time. We see the head coaches of other sports. We see that in Omaha in baseball. Yeah. If a big name school is there, you'll see whomever it might be.
Yep. Sarkisian was at the Texas games when they were making their run. They were putting him on TV all the time.
Yeah, right. So I want to see him in some Michigan gear.
This is a tough time of year. You're right, though, for football coaches to break away. But Michigan and Texas play in a women's regional final tonight. Maybe Sark and Kyle can both go to that. All these Michigan's in the hockey playoffs, and Michigan's doing everything. I've seen Michigan people tweeting about it nonstop. They're winning all over the place.
Well, yeah, the women are going to be UC Los Angeles and UConn. Let's get on with it. It's been that way for weeks and months.
Just waiting for that game. Everyone else have your tournament, but in the end,
I mean they are by far, unless they're matched up in the semifinal. I don't know what the bracket is, but I mean they've been the two dominant teams, and that's not going to stop. That will not stop this year. And I think the women's basketball committee and whoever is involved in it and all that stuff would want to see that, because that has a chance to draw some eyeballs. And they've got some really good players, including the Neepkins gal who played 3 years at Utah.
Yeah.
And then transferred out last year down to Westwood. So that would be kind of funny to see Kyle in a Michigan golf shirt acting like he's just this diehard Michigan fan. If he had little kids, they would face paint Michigan. I guess maybe it has to be his grandkids.
Yeah, get the grandkids there. Let's go. Get the face paint.
Meet me in Indy.
All right, kids, let's go.
Yeah. Well, he has grandkids living in Ann Arbor because his one son, I think, has 2 or 3 kids. So they'll be there to see that. We'll see that when the season starts, although it won't be as pronounced when you got 100,000 people in the big house. I mean, at game day, like their game day is as good as any game days that I've been around, and I've been to a lot of them throughout the country. With that many people, it's just massive. It's basically obviously double the size, and Utah has a very good game day too. Their atmosphere and all that stuff is awesome, and it's come a long way, and they're big time. But now you're going big time. So that's my reason for rooting for Michigan. No other reason other than that. Whatever, but. I want to see.
You want to see Kyle there high-fiving his grandkids.
Yeah.
With everybody in maize and blue.
Yeah. And maybe, who knows, maybe Jay Hill, Jason Beck. I mean, they're certain making enough money they could charter. Now, Freddie will be there. That little thing, they mic up and put, social media, they do this. And so I've been watching that for Michigan. I feel like I've been watching a ton of stuff. And they put their press conferences. Everybody does it, but I don't care about Northwestern or what have you. And I go and listen to the Michigan stuff. And they had Freddie the other day trying to hit the goalpost during practice with his arm, and he knew he could do it. And I don't know how many tries it took, but he got it. So he hit the bottom bar, the crossbar, in practice.
He used to be in charge of doing that stuff at the U. That's how they ended up trying to throw a ball out of the stadium. That was his idea. So he's always into that kind of stuff. Anything to make these the drudgery of these never-ending practices a little more fun, because the games are so far away.
Yeah.
So what is Yormark going to do to get the Big 12 back on top? What can be done? What must be done?
Well, I think I have a little saving grace if Arizona wins.
Yep.
So that will take care of it to a large extent.
He can get up and say that.
Yeah, I never really believed that they were the clear-cut second-best basketball conference in the world. I thought it was a nice line that he keeps continuing to spin, and he's paid to promote it. He's basically, in a public sense, not when he's doing his work, but when he speaks, as all commissioners are, they're basically nothing more than public relations people. Particularly for him, since the Big 12 doesn't right now have the prestige as the other two. And you can argue maybe not the ACC. To me, that's sort of a dead heat, but I mean, you can argue it if you wanted to. So he has to continually sell his conference, what they're trying to do. He's got to grab attention on that. So I appreciate his line when he said it. I know he said it at the press conference before the title game in the Big 12 at the Cowboy Stadium the morning of, between BYU and Texas Tech. He said that multiple times, and then he's since said that, and that's good. I mean, he's paid to sell it. He's paid to do other stuff But when he makes his public appearances before the media, that it basically is PR stuff.
Yep. But I just don't see how you can spin, because the thing about the Big Ten this year is they got 6 of the 16 in the Sweet 16, and the Big 12 had 3, and now they've got 2 of the Final 4, and the Big 12 has 1. So if Arizona can win it all, that'll give them something to talk about. Yeah. But there's definitely work to be done. How do you get the other schools to pay 15 or 20 million bucks? Because you're going to have to get in that neighborhood. We've already heard Kentucky's in that neighborhood, and it didn't pay off. So that's clearly a neighborhood that multiple teams are if they're not in it already, they're going to be in it quickly. So if you can't get to that neighborhood and stay in that neighborhood, how are you going to compete at the top? We heard Houston, Kelvin Sampson was talking about they just don't have that kind of money. He says the teams have better players. They keep recruiting. We stop recruiting because we run out of money. I mean, he was really just put it all on the table there. He didn't dance around it much at all.
I don't know if there's anything you can do. I mean, I don't know that it rests with your mark. That
Find your
is
billionaire
charged.
investor at each school.
Well, a willing one.
Yeah.
And just because you have a ton of money, who's to say that you're really that interested in sports? Like Ira Fulton is a big Latter-day Saint guy down in the Valley of the Sun, and he has donated millions, but how much of a sports fan do they want to do that? See, the School of Engineering on the campus, literally on the campus, not someplace else, for ASU, that's the name of the engineering school.
It might be the same thing in Provo as well.
So he's doing that. That organization, that family, that company is donating a lot of money, but you can argue very strongly for far more important things. Right? And I'm a sports fan. We're sports fans. I don't have any problem saying that. So you've got to get somebody they've got to get their jollies by having their team, their college team, their youngsters between 18 and 22 or 3, whatever. They've got to get their jollies by having that team win. And getting that publicity, that Cody Campbell for president as I drove into the parking lot at the AT&T Stadium. That's the first thing I saw. Take a left to get off the main street, and then you went in the parking lot. I went right, and then when I took a left to go to my parking spot, so I'm now fully immersed on the grounds of the Cowboy Stadium, and literally the first thing I see is a truck facing the stadium, and in the back window, covered from both ways, with and horizontally and vertically, Cody Campbell for president. Yeah.
Well, if you get money and your front seven's that good, why not? Right? Seems like a leap. The front seven's really good to Cody.
Yeah, and that's not to say Cody Campbell's not financing academic colleges within the university. He very well could, but you still have to get somebody who gets their jollies by having the team win. And that, how many people are there of them? I mean, Riley Jensen was in for us last week, and grateful for him coming in. And, he was talking about he knows somebody who works at BYU that they have 4 billionaires within 5 miles of the campus, and they want to see these teams win. And maybe you can argue for BYU, it's a higher calling if you want to go down that road. You can argue whether it's true, but I think it is that they believe that, okay, if I give money to the basketball team or the football team, that's furthering the cause of the Latter-day Saint religion. I really think you can argue that, even though in basketball there was 2 guys, Latter-day Saints, who played, and then they both had injuries, one early, one later, and then they had 0. But in a roundabout way, those guys, the Robert Wrights and DeMontas, they're furthering the cause of the LDS Church. I don't believe that's their intention, but we still think of that way. So maybe for BYU, they can get that money more regularly. I don't want to say easily, but consistently might be the better word, because if they may feel, in a sense, I am donating to my religion, whereas at the University of Arizona, obviously you're not going to have that. It's just you're donating so Arizona basketball can win, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we've certainly heard that over and over the years we've been doing the show from multiple administrators at BYU.
Yeah.
That what happens with the athletic department does over time in specific ways, and they'll point out specific examples. They'll say this has an impact on the church, on religion.
Right.
And I know not everybody embraces that, but it's clear multiple people in leadership do, and they've got specific stories that they'll share and back it up. So,
well, yeah, I mean, you look at the number
motivates-
of guys who've converted by playing football. I mean, we couldn't name them all. Andy Reid at the top of the list.
Yeah. And so at the same time, it is also about sports because people want to be in the locker room after the game and they want to be seen on social media being in the locker room after the game. You get to do something most people don't get to do. So you got to find out what gets somebody's attention and why they want to do it, and then go down that path, whatever it is.
Right.
And if you don't have one of those people back in your teams, you're going to be in trouble pretty quickly. Your best player.
Well, if your definition of trouble is having a nice team and go out in the first or second round,
losing
I guess.
games, right? Yeah. As guys who went to Big West and Big Sky schools, yeah. Well, we don't have people with that kind of money, and our guys, if they do anything, they're going to transfer.
Yeah, and I'm personally fine with it.
Yeah.
I don't get my jollies out of an 18-year-old winning a football game or a basketball game. A lot of people do, and that's fine too. I'm grateful that there are those people because that helps me stay employed. It's not my thing, but if it's other people's things, so be it. I don't have a problem with it.
Victory in Flagstaff just doesn't move the needle for you that much.
Actually, for me, victory in Flagstaff was far more fun than victory in Tempe.
Because you knew the guys.
Yeah.
There was an actual connection.
Yeah. I mean, they lived down the hall. It wasn't so
era,
massive.
Yeah. You didn't have an athletic dorm and people still went to classes.
Yeah.
Everything went online. So,
yeah. It was like it was a bigger high school in a sense.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Steve Cleveland talking NCAA tournament at the top of the hour. Barry Tramel talking about the Thunder being upset with the Jazz. That's coming up at 9 o'clock. Stay with us.
Just a bunch of guys sitting around and talking sports. This is Scotty G and Friends.
Athletic Director of Utah State University, Cameron Walker. Not only are you looking to hire a new head coach, but you also become the de facto recruiter to keep your own student athletes in place. How do you manage that as an athletic director?
Obviously, my job here is to keep as many as I can and have the best team. But if it's best for someone to go, then they should go. But I ask them, hang tight. Don't do anything in the next 48 hours. Don't decide to stay or go. Collect your thoughts. Let us get a hire in and then make your decision. You'll have time. It'll be okay. But then when that time comes, make the best decision for you and your family. I think that's important. I think as much as I'd love to say, hey, you player X, stay, because that's best for me. If that's not best for them, I'm being selfish, and that's not what Utah State's about.
Catch Scotty G and Friends weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Don't miss your chance to win big every week on the KSL Sports Zone. This week, you can win tickets to see Weezer with the Shins and Silver Sun pickups at the Maverick Center on September 15th. Presale begins Thursday, April 2nd with the code WEMAV26 at livenation.com. That's WEMAV 26 at livenation.com. Or listen to the KSL Sports Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win. All right, PK, for people who missed it, the news is about 1 hour old now. All the people who cover college basketball tweeted out this morning, Utah State has their man, Ben Jacobson, coming in from Northern Iowa, where he is the head coach and has been since the 2006-2007 season. He has had a long run there. He's had 4 NCAA tournament teams, made it to or 5 NCAA tournament teams, rather, my bad, and made it to a Sweet 16 once upon a time. So an accomplished guy, not necessarily the young guy on the way up, but a guy who's got a track record. He was there as an assistant coach before he was the head coach, so he'd kind of been a lifer there at Northern Iowa, but it turns out he's not a lifer. He's headed to Logan.
You know, we thought Whittingham was a lifer, so, I mean, nothing can surprise you when it comes to that stuff. I think that, maybe on appearance sake, who knows what's going to happen, but maybe they got somebody who might stay there if he has a little success and is not because of the age, not that he's that old at 55, he could still coach, easily another decade, if not longer, that he might not be so inclined to take off. And so maybe they could have some continuity there because it's been amazing what they've been able to do with the lack of continuity in the coaching staff. And I think that the current state of college basketball has led to that because guys can transfer and become immediately available eligibility-wise. And you look at Sprinkle was the guy who did it probably the best in terms of bringing guys with him that could be immediately eligible, right? I mean, he had two guys, a power guy and a point guard that came with him that were big-time players, and so they took advantage. So you can see how it can be done, but it's still hard to do that. You got to have the guys who are willing to go and be good enough once they get there, just rather than just simply be willing to go. And it worked out, and it's worked out for three guys basically since Smith took off. Now maybe here at 55. He may be inclined to stay. I have no idea. It may blow up. Maybe he has two great seasons and he's gone, or 1 year. Sprinkle, I think, was only there one, so you never really know.
Yep.
But it seems it's a little bit of a different model, and it's certainly someone who is accomplished. You can't argue that. The success is there.
There's tons of it. I mean, there's you look at his record year to year. He's had a couple of lulls and been able to dig out of it. He's adjusted to this new era. They've gotten better 4 years in a row. One of the lulls, they had a 14-18 season in the Missouri Valley Conference in 23, but they came back with 19 wins, 20 wins, and this year 23 wins, and they went to the NCAA tournament. So he's adapted to the new world order. I mean, you could look at everything else he's done, but the world was so different. I mean, he's had 30-win seasons and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, and I would think that his success is not built on largely money.
I'd be surprised if they were outspending the league, but I don't know anything about that. But Northern Iowa, the assumption is you're right, not built on money. Not that I'm following the Missouri Valley Conference, but
well, the lower you go, the logic reasons that the less money you have. Now, it's relative, You're right, because if he's competing against everybody who has less money, then what difference does that make? But nevertheless, it hasn't been a simply, well, we got a lot of money, so we'll win. He's had to have the ability to develop talent and identify, like the Utes did in football for so many years, identify and develop, and go from there. And I really think that, to me, that's the mark of a coach, is what you do in your league, because things are more balanced in the league, right? Mm-hmm. And so not one team has a significant advantage or disadvantage. So nothing is really even, but you're in that group, and if you're having success in that group, that means you're pretty good to me. So the qualifications clearly are there. That's zero problem from my perspective. I like the fact that maybe he's a little older. Maybe that went into it, and he would be more inclined to stay. That'd be great if he stayed there for 10 years.
You can definitely look at the age and make that assumption if you want, but I think the stronger thing that if he got questioned on it, he would point to is that, well, he stayed at Northern Iowa for 20 years as a head coach, and he was there for 5 years as an assistant before that. So he's there. There are people who move around a lot, and that's not his resume.
Right, but I don't think you're going to go from Northern Iowa to the Big Ten, where I think you can go from the new Pac-12 to the Big Ten or the Big 12.
If he comes in and has a crazy year or two, who knows what program has an opening in a year or two and throws who knows what kind of money and resources at him.
This very well could be a stepping stone if he has major success in 2 and 3 years because of the fact that it's at a higher level. and especially if he squeezes out a Sweet 16.
It sounds weird to say this because the Aggies are going on their 6th coach in a decade, but man, maybe Aggie fans should think, hey, if the big dogs come calling, there's only one reason, and that means the Aggies have been crushing it again. So if there's another tourney win out there or a Sweet 16 or whatever, well, you and I have been big on continuity. We've seen continuity pay off over time, but man, the Aggies have been able to handle all kinds of change. And maybe in this era, that's just the way it's going to be anyway. So if you're rebuilding teams every year, maybe the lack of continuity with the coach doesn't matter quite as much because every coach is putting together a team every year. We can run that past Steve Cleveland. He's going to join us next. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car's gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, the news of the morning. Utah State with a new basketball coach. Ben Jacobson's making the move from Northern Iowa. A Panther turning in his gear after 2 decades as their head coach. He won 397 games in 20 years. Do the math, that's almost 20 wins per season. So he'll make the move to Utah State and become their 6th head coach in the last decade and try to keep things rolling with the Aggies. Final Four is also set. Michigan, that was impressive. My gosh, they just hammered Tennessee, who had a great tournament run. It came to a screeching halt. And then do you feel like UConn won that game at the end, or Duke made mistakes and gave it away? Is there more blame either way?
I would go more for the credit for UConn because, obviously that last play where the Boozer son threw the ball when he didn't have to because they wouldn't have got a backcourt, and there's no such for the 5-second calls don't apply in the backcourt. But, they were down by 19, and so they had to come back. And it wasn't like Duke was really screwing up the whole time. I think that UConn, Hurley's a tough kid. He's a Jersey City kid. Those kids are that's pavement there, man. That's tough. My grandmother lived there, and I think they reflect his scrappy attitude, and they managed to get it done. And then that kid Mullins hits that shot. Wow, it's amazing. That was one of those things. If you're sitting there, you let loose with some type of audible wow or or something. You know what I mean?
I did.
Yeah, I did too.
And as the whole play's unfolding, you're like, no way. What are they doing? The whole thing was crazy. And when they lost the ball, I thought that'd be crazy if they throw one in. And when he started to let it go, you just thought he'll probably make it. It does fit your theory of there's no pressure. You got to take the shot.
Right. Yeah.
It goes in with 0.3 of a second. There's 2 seconds left. I mean, what are you going to do, really? Where are you going? You're open. You might as well take it.
Right.
So he did.
If he passes the ball, then the next guy has to really kind of fumble it and get it up there quick. So, yeah, it was the right decision, obviously.
Yeah. Let's bring in Steve Cleveland, former BYU basketball coach, joins us every week here on The Zone. And Steve, do you feel really good for UConn, or do you feel really bad for Duke?
Oh, man. Both those programs have won championships and have had great success. And you always feel badly when it's a long, shot, how it played out. Those are difficult. It just happens so sudden that it just takes the air out of your whole body and soul. And but it's how the game's played, and it's what the magic about this tournament, year in and year out, we never get let down. I mean, honestly, it's just amazing how these games unfold, and just the excitement of what took place yesterday. And God bless them all, man. I mean, it's a tough deal, and they get to so close. But to watch a deflected pass turn into a 30 or 40-foot buzzer beater shot, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, it was so exciting, and I don't have a vested interest in any of these teams, but I still get nervous for everybody.
Yeah, I'm wondering, a lot of heat going towards Duke's way. They had Cameron Shire, and he's pointing as to throw the ball, advance it down the floor. And Boozer's son there, both of them actually committed turnovers, I guess, in the last couple of possessions for Duke. But in the moment, you can coach for forever and go through a million different things and then not go over that. That's the craziness of sports. Now, if they are ever in that situation again, that won't happen. But they've never been in that situation. It's like, the point is, how can you cover everything all the time, particularly in those crazy final seconds? It seems like it's impossible, and they got burned by it.
Yeah, and just it's something as simple as a deflected pass, and how that unfolded into a 30 or 40-foot shot to win the thing at the buzzer. You do prepare. I will say this. These are all great coaches and a lot of good coaches in the country. There's a lot of time and preparation that's put into late game situations, okay? And I'm not saying that you could have foreseen that or what was going to take place, but good coaches and good programs look at last 5 seconds, last 10 seconds, three-quarter court shot, got to get it to the paint. I mean, there's so many different scenarios that you prepare for, not knowing how it's going to play out at the end. But when you've had that kind of preparation, and I'm not talking about a 30 or 40-foot shot that goes in at the buzzer on a deflected pass, because that's just the karma of the whole day. I mean, it just happened. But I will say this, and all of these coaches are prepared for late game situations. Maybe not so dramatic as the one we saw yesterday, but it's still stuff that you prepare for. And you never know what's going to happen. But man, that's what makes this game so special, and those moments for fans watching. And I don't think we're done having some pretty amazing thing happens with the Final Four coming, and with Illinois. No, I don't think anybody's thinking that Illinois's got a chance, and everybody's thinking UConn does. But Dusty May at Michigan, you know what? They're really good and neutralize. They've got to neutralize Arizona's paint touches and paint points and do the things they've got to do. But I mean, I think these are all going to be. I just don't see any blowout games here. I just think there's so much pressure and so much preparation, especially defensively. It's going to be hard to score. And a lot of it will come down to transition baskets. And really what impacts games more than anything is turnovers that turn into points.
Yeah.
And, that's the killer, and that's the unknown about who wins championships.
Well, Duke certainly had a problem with that. And when they were rolling in the first half, they had Cam Boozer. He was just going to town, and UConn had no answers. And just as you were coming on, PK was talking about Hurley and the Jersey attitude and all that. I thought the way UConn defended in the second half, when there really wasn't much hope, was really impressive. And if there's any takeaway for our local teams here, it's like, if you're planning on getting to the tournament and then making a run once you're there, just got to be way better on defense. The teams that are making these tournament runs, and it's not purely defense, because if purely defense, Houston would still be going. So you've got to have shooting, you got to have offense. But my gosh, UConn, they played really hard at the defensive end and really got Boozer pretty quiet in the second half.
They did. I think Reed was really, really impactful in this game in terms of scoring. And, they had double-figure scoring with Mullins, Damari, Ball. Smith had 9, I think. I don't know. When games, obviously the Boozers and Duke, and they've been special teams. Cameron had 27, 8, and 4. Not like they played poorly. Caden Boozer had 15, 5, and 1. They shoot 52% and 40% for the three-point line and lose.
Yeah.
That's what hurts. Is that, man, look at what we did. And the similar thing, I think it was last year that Duke lost to Houston when they were up 6 with just a short amount of time. And so Duke's got to be feeling a little bit snake bit right now. But it hurts. It hurts for a while. Eventually you get through it and you move on. But that's a tough loss for Duke.
So you had an opportunity to watch Cam Boozer a bit play basketball. So from your perspective, if it comes down to Boozer or DeBonsa, who do you like?
I like DeBonsa. I think DeBonsa has the ability to score in more multiple ways. And, nobody gets into the paint and elevates. And, he creates space better than anybody that I saw this year in the game. And that's what I like about him is that you're not going to stop him from getting a shot up. Now, you can double team him, and maybe that's the best way what you do with anyone. And, you go double, but then all of a sudden it's kind of how that game ended. All of a sudden the ball gets bounced away and a good three-point shooter gets the ball, but it was still had to be a 30 or 40-foot shot. And but I like AJ. I just think he's so much more versatile. And it's not to say that, both the Boozer boys are going to be involved. They're going to be in the NBA, and they're going to have long careers. But my money's on AJ. I just think he's one of the most gifted players in the country. I think he can have an immediate impact in the NBA. Not that he's an all-star, but he's going to have an impact on whatever team he goes to. Unfortunately, when you're a first or a second round draft pick, you usually go to a team that hasn't been winning lately. But AJ can make a difference wherever he goes.
Yeah, that's what would be cool about the Jazz if they got that pick, because whoever does go to the Jazz is not going into a bad situation, is going to go into a good situation.
Yeah. Man, wouldn't that be special for AJ to be here? And I know how much he loves his community and the state, and I just – his comments and just being around him and the family. That'd be the greatest thing that happened in basketball in the state of Utah ever, to have him be that guy. And I don't know how we're going to figure that out. And Danny and all the Angels are going to figure out how in the world can we get this guy to be a part of the Utah Jazz. If that happens, man, everybody. I mean, the crazy thing is they sell all these games out even when they're losing. I mean, these are the most loyal fans in the country. And but to see an AJ find himself a place with the Jazz would really, really put smiles on everybody's faces in this state.
Well, one thing that could happen is they could get really fortunate in the draft lottery. But the other thing that could happen is he'll be a free agent at some point, and I feel like he's been heavily recruited for the last year, if you know what I mean. And I think
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And we'll kind of see how that plays out. And a lot of these things too. I mean, I'm not is prepared right now to talk about the draft and the upcoming draft and things. I usually get myself prepared for that, and I will shortly here over the next few days. But I do really think that the Jazz need to be doing everything that they potentially can and possibly can to get that guy, keep him here in Utah. And I don't know how that plays out. I don't know what trades are involved or what the circumstances are. But for AJ especially, I mean, usually you're going to go to a team that has struggled and is not playing well. The Jazz could kind of fit that mold too. But I just think that would be a game changer for this whole state. So hopefully they're working on that. We'll figure out how we can find a way for AJ to be a part of basketball here in Utah. But that's what we're all hoping for and looking for. And no matter where AJ goes, I do believe that he'll have way more of an impact. And the Boozers are amazing. Cam and Caden are both great players. Cam is probably more prepared than Caden, but they're not AJ. AJ is more prepared than either one of those players, and I think can have an impact in the NBA immediately.
So we see that the news coming down, Northern Iowa's Ben Jacobson going to go to Utah State, 55 years old. And my first thought was, okay, these guys all have a resume that is something that you would look at and say they're qualified to take this job, really no matter who they were going to hire, most likely. I have about a 99% feeling that I would say, yeah, they're qualified, right? So we put that off to the side. Being 55 as opposed to being late 30s, early 40s leads me to believe that maybe there might be some continuity. Nobody has any idea. You can't guarantee anything. But I'm just trying to think, when you moved, and clearly you took that Fresno State job because it was home, but you were a little older. When you went into that mindset, did you think that was going to be it, that this is where you were going to coach for the rest of your career?
I think when I look back on that, and it's easy to look back and thought, what was I thinking? But, when you look back and you're going back home to kind of rebuild another program, and we had been kind of successful doing that at BYU, and so it made sense to kind of have that opportunity to go back and do that. I'm Ben Jacobson, I don't know. But I can tell you this, that being from Northern Iowa and being a head coach for 20-plus years, is a little bit older. It just seems like a perfect fit for Utah State. It's like every coach they've ever had. I'm not saying that in terms of age, but here's another guy that's been in a mid-major, which Utah State has been, and they've had success. I don't know anything about this guy, but the fact that he spent 20 years as a head coach at Northern Iowa, and yes, he is a little bit older and probably a lot wiser than a lot of the coaches. I think and I don't know anything about him, but the fact that he's from Northern Iowa tells me that he's had to grind and work and do everything he could to be successful there, and he's done that. And I like the hire. I look forward to reading about him and getting to know him and seeing what he's doing. But from the outside looking in, it just seems to be a good fit. And I don't know anything about the guy, but I know what I know about Northern Iowa. I know what about mid-majors and what they do and how hard it is to be successful. This seems like a good fit.
He went there as an assistant coach, and he worked for Greg McDermott, who people may know from Creighton and Iowa State. How much do you look at that and use that to help color in your perspective too?
Oh, a huge piece. Greg McDermott, this is someone that I've watched and I know, and, you look at the people that have put in place and that have impacted other players, and on other coaches. And, you look around this country and you start looking at mid-major coaches and what they've done, and certainly Greg McDermott is a guy that has had an influence and has been a mentor to coaches. It just seems to be a good fit. And I think for whatever reason, and I don't know the history, I know all the people that have coached there, but Utah State, in my mind, has been the most consistent program in the state for years and years, that you just know what you're going to get. I'm not suggesting they're Final Four teams, but year in and year out, big wins, toughest place to play in this state. And I know, that BYU has a fan base that's amazing, but it's not Utah State. It's hard to win there. I coached there, and I've been in big arenas, and they usually attract mid-major coaches, and I don't see this not being any more successful than it has been in the past. I think it's a great hire, not knowing him, but just knowing where he comes from and what the circumstances are. At 55, I think the transition will be smooth and it will have an immediate impact on that program. They're not going to take a step back with Ben Jacobson.
Yeah, too, when you hear and see these things, I immediately go to their roster and see who's good.
Yeah.
They're doing that with Randy Bennett going to ASU, and, St. Mary's has been good, and I've had a couple conversations with people in that area, and they're like, okay, who can he bring? Sprinkle, when he came, brought a couple of guys that made an immediate difference. Big-time difference for the Aggies that year. And so that's the way you look at these things. You saw Jason Beck, the kid who was coordinator for Utah for only one season. Who did he bring? He brought the quarterback with him from New Mexico. And, wow, they had an awesome offense. And now all of a sudden Jason Beck is the coordinator in Michigan. How incredible is that? And Devin Dampier's like, oh, wait a second. How come I didn't get any credit for that? Because he brings them. and that was a large reason why they were so good, because that young man, when he was healthy, was very electric. It's kind of crazy the way things are these days.
Yeah, you know what? Speaking of that, well, I don't want to get off on a tangent. I have a good friend, Heath Schroyer. You guys know Heath.
Yeah.
And he's been at McNeese State. He's been an athletic director there. And He's now the athletic director at LSU, associate athletic director. And there's been lots of changes in that part of the country, and I'm so happy for him. But it's the same thing. You just never know what's around the corner. And I'm in touch with Heath quite a bit. We're close, but even he, I don't think, could have seen that happen. Will Wade is now, he was the head coach, and he was at McNeese State with Heath. And it's just amazing how things happen, and all of a sudden here's Heath, who has been a coach and then has been an AD there, and now is associate AD at LSU. That's a significant jump, but you just never know what's going to happen, and how it happens. And congratulations to Heath, because that's a huge jump going to LSU. But you take a look at Ben Jacobson and where he's been and what he's done. Everybody's got a story, and I love the stories. And just year in and year out, guys get jobs, and people that nobody knows. All of a sudden, they're in the NCAA tournament and upsetting people. That's the beauty of college basketball. You just know year in and year out, there's always a surprise. There's always an upset, and that's why we love this game.
Steve, we'll leave it right there. We appreciate your time as always. Thanks for joining us.
Take care, guys. Have a great week.
There's Steve Cleveland, former BYU basketball coach, joining us right here on The Zone, one of our favorites. And another one of our favorites is coming up at 9 o'clock. Turns out not everybody in Oklahoma is happy with the way Utah is tanking, PK. We'll talk with Barry Tramel about that.
Yeah, they've had two great examples of tanking. The Wizards game was the poster child for tanking and what they put out there in that product. And then the game against Denver when they sat guys who were playing well. I think right now, if I'm on the Jazz, the goal is to play well enough that I sit in the fourth quarter.
There it is. It's a true sign of improvement right there.
I know I've
arrived. All right,
arrived.
DJ PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Ace Bailey, he didn't come in kicking the door and say, "This is my team now, everyone."
Absolutely, that's a big part of it. But
which I think is a great sign, actually.
Had the Jazz needed Ace to do what he did last night all season, this would have been a team that had a good rookie and had a really long future still ahead of them.
Yeah, nothing else.
And that's not going to be the case. And that's where this really gets interesting for me with what does Ace's future look like. But him doing this now is probably the best time for the Jazz. Nobody else is playing. He's just getting a lot of opportunity. He's getting a taste of what this stardom looks like. And then he's got to come back and fit in with another roster next year.
Yeah, he's got the pull-up. He's got the three. Man, that's a good-looking shot.
Yeah.
He's bouncy.
Yep.
He's blocking shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's everything you want to see from a rookie making progress.
Catch Jake and Ben weekdays from 10 to noon on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, I'm Josh Spiegel, host of the podcast Lunatic in the Newsroom. If you enjoy journalism that drifts into mild panic, wild overthinking, and a guaranteed nervous breakdown, Lunatic in the Newsroom is for you. It's news like you've never heard before. The only newsroom with a panic button. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and gasp in horror as the show spirals completely out of control. It's not just news, it's emotionally unstable. Lunatic in the Newsroom. Listen today.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. PK, we have multiple stories converging. It's all about college basketball this morning. The Aggies have their new head coach. They're getting Ben Jacobson out of Northern Iowa, who's been the head coach there for 20 years, an assistant for 5 years before that for Greg McDermott, who went on to success with Iowa State and with Creighton. And it's the Final Four. And watching some of these teams and the way they defend, and watching our local teams and the way they may have struggled to defend at times. BYU opponent shot 45% this year. That's not good enough. That number's got to improve. Utah opponent shot 48%. That's not good enough. And looking at Ken Pomeroy's numbers at KenPom.com, Northern Iowa, 25th in the nation in defensive rating this year, number 1 in their league. And, you get to these different leagues and the quality of competition and the talent can vary widely. So you might want to look more at the league number than the national number. But either way, they catch your attention, top 25 and number 1 in their league. So you get a little idea what he might bring to Utah State. And we're certainly seeing it pay off because UConn, that was a heck of a defensive performance in the second half. As Steve Cleveland said, the turnovers that led to quick points at the other end, those were a big deal. And UConn was sitting there defending, controlling guys who, well, one of them is going to go top 3 in the draft, but there's a couple other pros on that team. That was really impressive.
Well, not all turnovers are created equally. You have to be able to allow your defense to set up, and you're making those live ball turnovers, free throw line or above, that's going to lead to 2 points, if not 3 the other way. I think colleges are more inclined to take the ball to the basket rather than have 2 guys run to the corner and jack up a 3.
They are, but UConn try to pull up 3 in transition from the top of the key, and I flinched and thought of you immediately when that happened. But they won anyway, so what the heck?
Yeah, I think that because I think if you look at college basketball, it has not changed as dramatically as the NBA has. It seems like big guys still have an extremely important role in college basketball, more so than they do in the NBA. And I think Arizona's an example of that. And UConn's got a couple of big guys themselves. I mean, you got to do a lot of different things. I mean, if the more versatile you are, the better you're going to be. And I think that we see that with UConn, the way that they play. And certainly with Arizona, I mean, they throw a bunch of big dudes at you. Cole Pete probably has the best pro potential going forward, and we'll see how his game translates to the NBA because, there's plenty of good players in college that their game just doesn't work for whatever the reasons might be at the NBA level. Now they can go overseas and make some money, so that's still pretty cool. But you look at it, and I think it's a battle of more traditional way of the way basketball is played. And you look at Arizona, I mean, they're the classic example of big guys and not shooting threes. What do they only take, about 16 threes a game? Yep. I mean, my gosh, that's poultry the way the game is played these days. Yeah. And so I sort of like that, To me, I'm fine with the threes as long as they're going in. Or when someone is wide open. And my 2 criteria for threes for me, whatever that's worth, which is nothing, is if you're open and your feet are set. Not if you're coming down and you're going full speed and then you stop and get the ball. Yep. No, I don't like that. I want your feet set about 2 seconds before you receive the ball. Then there's that. And then other example would be take the 2 if you have it. If it's there and you're a good shooter, take it. Don't just simply, I have an open or I have a lane to the bucket and I can probably get there, but no, I'm going to throw it out. Now, those are the times that I don't like it. And I think the NBA has a problem with that. To me, there's too many threes. That's just me. Other people may love it, and that's great. So I'm not telling them they need to change. I'm saying for me, and I still watch the game, so it's not like I'm not watching. They've got me hooked. But I do get a little bored with 7 straight possessions of teams on both sides chucking up threes. Now, if you make 5 of them, well, that's another story. But it just seems like there's oftentimes that doesn't happen. College is a little more traditional in that way, and in a way, and clearly the NBA is miles ahead in talent in the college game. No one's arguing that. But with that in mind, that's drawn me back into the colleges a little bit more, is to see more of a traditional way of playing as opposed to being so reliant on threes.
There's no doubt the college game has changed less than the pro game. And I think getting deep into this tournament, Arizona is the best example of the willingness to use that old school post play and post moves. But really, almost all of the really good teams were effective in the Duke, obviously with Boozer, really effective in the post. I thought Purdue went into the post quite a bit. It pretty much seemed to be nonstop, and it was effective. They were getting in one of the games, and I don't remember which one. They even had a graphic on points per possession because they've done the math and are making a point like this is an efficient way for this team to play. They're getting enough points per possession, which not every team gets. And certainly they've struggled with that in the NBA, trying to figure that out. And then the other thing is, there aren't as many. It's like every NBA team has these guys who are 6'10", 7 feet. And it seems like there's always a second or third guy coming in for a block. And Cam Boozer got a really good block early in the game yesterday where he was the second guy. And whoever, I forget who was shooting for UConn, but whoever it was, driving and a fake, and they got the first guy off balance and they went up around him. And then Boozer just comes swooping in and swats the thing. But the colleges don't have as many of those guys. And that ability to help with these really big players makes it harder and harder to score inside, unless you spread people out to the 3-point line. And the Jazz are going to be a great example of this next year. They're going to have 3 7-footers. Now we'll see how committed they are to defense and that whole, quote, flying around thing. But theoretically, they should be taking away a lot of those hoops. But I get your point about the college game because it did resonate. Sitting with me, watching those Sweet 16 Elite 8 games, there was a ton of post play. There was a lot.
I don't really think of Markkanen as a 7-footer, despite his height.
Yeah, I know.
He has to show me that he's willing to.
You got to show the willingness and the effort to defend. Are you going to be flying around? You're long and you can do it if you want, but are you going to?
Yeah, it depends on what the matchups are.
Yeah.
And he's so good at the other end that I'm not sure that I wanted to. That's where the team aspect comes in, to where you're looking at. If you have a Kessler and you have a Jackson who can defend on the perimeter and you have a Kessler who can block the rim, essentially, the Markkanen can be freed up to do other type of stuff. And so you have to that's what we were talking about last week with Locke and a kid like Keontae George who's can go for, he's going to average over 20. I don't know if he's going to play again the rest of the year, so his numbers might already be locked in. And he's coming up. That's what's going to be fascinating with Will Hardy is how he develops. Now they're going to get a higher first-round pick. Maybe they can get a bonanza or, maybe in the top 5. So you're probably going to get a decent player there, right? That's the way it's looking right now. And combined with the return of the guys that they have, how is Hardy going to fit everything together? Because George is coming up on his opportunity for the second contract, but yet he may have to sacrifice way more than anybody else next year because you can't have everybody shooting the ball. How's it going to play?
Yeah,
and I'm fascinated to see that.
Yeah, that must have been a good discussion because you must have spurred a lot because I saw stuff on social media about exactly that point. And I saw people, well, Keontae's not going back and he's not going to be the number 3. And I'm like, well, he's going to have the ball to start the offense, which Jackson and Markkanen aren't. So that's going to be one advantage for him getting shots. And I get why we're talking about it now, but I just wonder if Austin Ainge is going to make a deal or two this summer and it's just going to be like, it's been I don't know that these guys are all coming back. I don't know that we're looking at the right group of guys. The group of guys who start, are there still 1 or 2 guys who are going to be in the mix that we don't know yet? Maybe they'll acquire bench guys. I wonder how it's going to play out.
Yeah, but that further complicates life for George. That doesn't eliminate it. Just because you have the ball doesn't mean you're going to have the freedom to shoot as many times as you've had this season.
You're going to have the temptation, but that's not going to be the direction necessarily.
And then if you don't do what the coach is telling you to do,
that could be a speed bump right there, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Pothole in the old road.
And Riley Jensen, the mental health performance, he was pushing the idea of honesty there and saying that, okay, it may be something that is upsetting in the short term, but if he does what he's told to do and then they start winning, that really limits your ability to complain because you come off as a selfish player. If the team gets off to let's say first 25 games and 15-10, whatever, which I think is, obviously we don't know the schedule, but that seems like with the talent they have, a 15-10 start is not outrageous,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so after losing for 4 years, people will be excited because then you're really you're in the playoff race. We're getting to Christmas, and you're in the race anyway, not completely and totally in until you actually are. So with that in mind, how's that all going to work out? Because you're not going to tell Ace Bailey to go back. And Jaren Jackson comes over. Jaren Jackson has the best resume on the team. That's inarguable, right? And Markkanen has been somewhat of a loyal soldier, although they're paying close to $50 million, so I'm not bleeding for the guy here. But now it's his time. If it's not next season, then it's never.
When?
How's that all going to fit?
We'll see who it is and who fits. And here's the other thing is we talk about it like these guys are going to play all 82, and they're not. So the messages are going to be a little mixed, which can be a positive or a negative depending. It's like, tonight's not your night, but this guy's going to miss 15 games.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about February. I'm worried about April, the second half of April and May, and hopefully June.
Now you're talking playoffs.
So I don't care what.
Well, that'll be a whole new bucket of cold water and David Locke has just driven this point home, and he's right. So why not? It's like their regular season games are going to come with so much more pressure next year. They haven't felt anything like that. There's been no expectation to win these last 4 years. And then the playoff, the level of energy there will be a whole nother layer on top of that. And that goes back to your point. Yeah, Jaren Jackson, he'll know what that's all about because he's obviously played a bunch of playoff games. But for everybody else, Markkanen included, brand new experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll have to figure it out. But they'll feel more pressure in the regular season than they felt before. And then the playoffs, that'll really be something completely different. So, all right, we got to take a break. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up, Barry Tramel, top of the hour. Stay with us.
This is JJ and Alex. I got this.
And the Mammoth obviously have a lot of work cut out for them still because they are now at a point where, again, I hate looking at the percentages, JJ. Doesn't it make you nervous to go, yeah, right now they sit at 76.5% to be that wild card one team. There's so much hockey still left to be played.
Yeah, that percentage can drop quickly if you lose 4 straight again. Overall, you're looking at where this team is at. They're in that number 1 wild card spot. They control their own destiny. I would rather be in that number 1 wild card spot than in the number 3 central spot because if you're the Wild, you're either playing the Avalanche or the Stars in the first round. That's brutal.
It is.
I would rather be the Mammoth. You're going to be playing a first-round playoff series against the Ducks, and then you get the winner of the Oilers and Knights in the next round. I'd rather do that than get the Stars or Avalanche in the second round. If they're in that number 1 wild card spot with as good as that team is, there's a path for them to go on a long run in the playoffs, not just win a series.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 7 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Utah Mammoth crushing the LA Kings 6-2 Saturday night. Logan Cooley and Alexander Kerfoot score 2 goals apiece. Mikhail Sergachev sets a team record with 4 assists. Head coach Andre Tourny proud of the team's showing against the Kings.
Unbelievable commitment from the boys. They were engaged, intense. Our gap was phenomenal. The D played a hell of a game, all of them. Our 6D played really, really solid. Like the way we play in our zone, and obviously that generated offense for us. Our forecheck was really good, especially early in the game. And our special team were elite as well. So it's a great night.
Mammoth are off until Thursday when they play the Kraken in Seattle. That's your Mammoth at 50 update.
And now, your Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer strong play of the weekend.
Saar gets it into Cam Boozer. Boozer back to Saar. Now ahead to Caden Boozer, and UConn got a steal. Caravan for Mullins. Long 3. He got it! Oh, he got it! He hit it! He hit the long 3-pointer from the logo with 0.3 of a second left to go. I don't believe it. UConn has taken the lead.
There's your Chevy Strong play of the game. Know it today after 3 o'clock. JJ and Alex will call for it, and you will have a chance to win fabulous prizes. Epic finish for UConn. Legendary comeback, down 19. Not the biggest comeback in NCAA tournament history, but on the list. Enough that they put the list up on TV. And there was BYU's 25-point comeback in a playing game. It's a little different. This one was for a trip to the Final Four, a thriller. So know it today at 3 o'clock. You got anything that comes to mind that compare it to? You talk about being a prisoner of the moment. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Well, we've had game-winning shots in the final. I mean, the Villanova kid hitting a 3. I remember it. I was in Palm Springs at the time. It was over spring break. We know Jordan hit one. Keith Smart hit one. So, I mean, if you want to go in that direction, obviously the NC State was the most bizarre way. What was that, 83 or 84 or 85, somewhere in there? That was incredible on that one. And we didn't really know it at the time, but you had 2 Hall of Famers on Houston's team. I mean, legendary players, top 50 players, and they still found a way. And then Valvano dies. I think he was only like 47 years old. I mean, that's still, I think that not only comes close, I think it exceeds it.
Big news of the day, Utah State has a new basketball coach, Ben Jacobson, leaving Northern Iowa. In a tweet here in the last hour from someone I've never heard of, Casey Smurthwaite, who's apparently a former administrator and coach and now does consulting work, but he has clipped what looks like Ben Jacobson's contract extension, which says with 5 days written notice, if he provides that in acknowledgement of past quality of services and volunteering prior financial sacrifices, his buyout is $0. That's pretty unusual right there. Now, the buyout for Calhoun was $3.9 million. And I'd assumed all along some of that was going to have to go somewhere else unless they hired an assistant coach, which hasn't really been what's happened with them before and wouldn't think happened at this level. I thought they'd buy out a head coach somewhere, but man, not having to pay any buyout, that leaves them a little extra money to work with right there. So there's another little bonus worked into this news that's breaking this morning.
Well, he would always be able to give him 5 days notice. I mean, that's don't sign anything until 5 days.
Right.
So,
which is apparently what he did. Yeah.
Of course. I wouldn't expect a big buyout out of a 55-year-old coach from Northern Iowa. I guess 0 is something that is a surprise, but I don't.
But if it were $500,000 or $1 million.
Yeah. I don't know if it makes much of a difference. That I think that the good thing is that Calhoun was talking about the university kicking in money that they haven't. To be able to up the NIL. So Utah State is talking a good game as far as wanting to go in and compete at the Pac-12 level with, it's basically the Mountain West Part 2 with a couple other schools and all that stuff. And then Gonzaga in basketball, not football, obviously. So with that in mind, the opportunity for Utah State's the 2 primary sports combined, I don't know that it's ever been better for them to be having this type of success that they want. Now, they're going to obviously have to go up against Gonzaga in basketball, and they're going to have to go up against Boise State in football. And I think Washington State and Oregon State have an opportunity. Oregon State's been a little bit of a problem, but I think Washington State is settled, so we'll see what those schools do in those games here and those programs as they transition. I would think Oregon State and Washington State would be okay now that they've regrouped. The shock of the setback must have been something that was you couldn't comprehend, that they got left out and the other 10 teams went scattering. Well, we're past that a couple years now, so that's settled. So I would suspect that they would be able to rebound and find a way to be competitive, and Utah State see what they can do. It's a fascinating situation for them going forward, but it looks like they're set up in basketball and football to be okay. Whether they are or not remains to be seen.
Yeah, but from a kind of a structure and financial standpoint, it does feel like this is a high watermark.
And stability.
Especially, and stability. The challenges they've been up against in the past have been massive. And it seems like they're scaling that wall to a good degree.
Right. They've got a local athletic director, so maybe he stays. They've got a local football coach and probability of he's staying, and then you just got a new basketball coach. And I'm going to assume, and maybe it's too big of an assumption, but I'm going to assume he's going to be here in a 3 to 5 year range.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Barry Tramel next. Oklahoma City not thrilled with the Jazz and the tanking. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, and we are joined now by Barry Tramel. Barry, good morning.
Well, how are you guys doing, and what is going on in the state of Utah? You guys used to be such a placid place, just solid, even keel, just win ball games and go about your business and not make news. And now it's a scandal every other week. Crying out loud.
Good. We want it every week.
Well, it is good for radio.
Exactly.
I will say that.
It doesn't hurt. Well, it's I think it's as simple as Danny Ainge came to town and said, we're going to do things differently. And so we got this 4-year rebuild, which to your point, they really haven't had to go through something like this. And he did inherit a situation where the draft pick, protected draft pick, had been traded away. And I think those two things have come together here. And I guess we're just curious, what's the temperature in Oklahoma City? They accepting this? They're furious. They want to get the Jazz fined again. They want the league to take away the pick. What do they want? What's going to happen, Barry?
Well, here's the deal. I'm sure the Thunder's not too crazy about it, but here's the deal. They got so many draft picks this year, they don't even know what to do with them. So, in some ways, if the Jazz will keep this pick, it takes a little bit of the load off because they got the Clippers and the Sixers pick, both protected on the Sixers are protected 1 through 5, I think it is. Clippers not protected, and they're going to be right there in the play-in situation. So, Thunder's looking at having, pick without incredible lottery luck. They're looking at picks 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, somewhere in there, 2 of them. And then if they got Utah's, that was just going to be added problems. So they got to get rid of them. They don't have roster spots anyway. Their 13th man helps them win games all the time. So it's not like they have a bunch of roster spots. So I don't, they're probably not too thrilled with Utah right now, but it also it's not the worst thing that's ever come down the pike.
Yeah, it seems like they're past drafting. It's a matter of keeping their guys because their core is still extremely young. And so let the Jazz have it. The Jazz need this pick, and they need to get lucky in the draft, and they need to keep the kid from BYU, DeBonsa, and let the Thunder do what they're supposed to do and go about worrying if they're going to repeat or not.
Yeah. If the Thunder had 3 first-round draft picks between 9 and 16, they'd be looking to trade them all 3 to move up to 7 or something. That's where the Thunder's at. They need 3 first-round draft picks like they need a meteorite to hit this arena. That just complicate things. Because for all they know, the league would conspire and say, hey, nobody trade with them and make them take those picks. And then they'd have to start cutting people. We're not signing draft picks, and that would be a mess. And, in some ways, the Thunder is they got the ultimate first world problems when it comes to the draft.
I think we can all agree that tanking, while it might be rational behavior in the moment because it can help your team get a lot better for a long time. And San Antonio's hit on picks 1, 2, and 4, and it looks like it's paying off for them big time, again. But it's still kind of gross. It's just there's so much bad basketball out there. Guys sitting when we all know they're not hurt, and guys getting pulled in the fourth quarter. And the league says they're going to do something about it. The commissioner seems pretty definitive, but they've been trying to do something about it our whole lives, and we're old guys. But it's 40 years ago they introduced the lottery because people were tanking more than 40 years ago. So what are they going to do about it, really?
Well, let me ask you. Guys. Mm-hmm. Is it your opinion, your impression that tanking has gotten worse?
Yeah.
Well, yes. I think so too.
It's expanded.
Yes,
yeah,
and
it's
why has it expanded? Why has it expanded?
Because they were fixing it. Because they were fixing it.
They've introduced more teams eligible for the lottery. Right? It used to be the worst team in the East versus the worst team in the West. Flip a coin.
Yeah.
Now we've gone from 2 to 14. And I've seen the models that they talked about, the new suggestions. What do most of them include? They're going to expand the lottery to 18 teams. You're going to give more teams incentive to lose. If you give teams incentive to lose, guess what they're going to do? They're going to lose. What are we doing here? I'm serious. I don't have any idea what the thought process is there. I saw a reader from The Athletic in one of the mailbag columns from one of the guys had the coolest idea yet, which is at the end of the season or sometime before the start of the next season, every team in the NBA selects in order of worst record. So Indiana, Sacramento, Utah, whoever's in the worst teams, start picking, and you pick a team from next year, and that's your lottery team. And you can't pick yourself. That's genius. You got no reason to lose, and you're hoping somebody else does. So everybody's playing to win, and we're going to find out who's got the worst team. I thought it was a fabulous idea.
There's a lot of smart people out there. Some of the Pelicans' recent trades, if we ignore those, there's a lot of smart people out there, and they will immediately look for loopholes. So if you've got you're Danny Ainge, you got a buddy in Boston you hired. Hey, dude, I'll take care of you 1 year. You take care of me another. Come on, they'll find a loophole like that because they'll work it. They're smart.
You're talking conspiracy, and that's certainly possible. But you were talking to the world's foremost believer in no conspiracies, because conspiracies will get uncovered. Nobody keeps their mouth shut. All the people, all the people say we never went to the moon or that Kennedy's still alive or any of that stuff. My granddaughter's softball coach was having dinner the other night, and she said, I'm a conspiracy. She said, I tell my daughter in history class, don't believe anything they say. And I wanted to say, what's the motivation? People can't keep their mouth shut. So I think Boston and Danny Ainge could come up with something like that. But, man, I don't know that the risk is worth the reward, because you find it out, and if you got a good commissioner, everybody can decide whether the NBA does or not on your own. But if you got a good commissioner, then you just pop them the way he's popped Donald Sterling and Glenn Taylor in Minnesota, and hopefully the Clippers here soon, and whoever else has tried to circumvent the system.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I had a professor when I was going to Arizona State, and I don't remember a thing about the class, but I remember he insisted that there was no landing on the moon. The two things I remembered from this professor is there was no landing in the moon. It was actually somewhere in northern Arizona. And also he taught me that the word embargo spelled backwards is what, DJ?
Oh, grab me.
Yeah, he told me that embargo spelled backwards was oh, grab me. Those are the only two things that I remember from that entire class. I think that if you want to, sports to me is nothing more, nothing less than a TV show, right? And it's entertainment. You want to have entertainment instead of that boring lottery show that they have just for a few select losers. Have it in May, and you do the lottery 1 through 30, 1 through 32, whatever it is, where they settle on. And every year it's brand new, and they just pull it out of a hat every year. That would be, you want an entertainment show? That would be incredible.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. You're right about that. It comes down to this, guys, in all seriousness. If you incentivize losing, people are going to lose. So why would any solution incentivize losing? Just can't. It's a problem. People say it hadn't happened in the NFL or the MLB. It actually has. It does happen in both on a very small basis, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people in the NFL, teams shut down the last 4 or 5 weeks when they realize they stink. And in MLB, we've seen that's how the Astros.
That's what the Astros did. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
how did the Royals do it?
It's there's not any Victor Wembanyama's in the MLB. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit dicey to try, but people do it. So, I don't know. It's also a solution in search of a problem, because, you guys are a great test case. Let me ask you, one of the people of Utah and the people of Salt Lake City, how do they feel about tanking? The fans, do they hate it, or do they say, hey, you know what, this is what we need to do?
The craziest thing is to go to a game and sit in the arena and watch people cheering wildly for victory, and the team scores and takes a 1-point lead with 5 minutes to go, and they're going nuts. And you look at Twitter in a timeout, and people are cursing the team. It's amazing, Barry. It's like Moses parting the sea, man. It's unreal.
Are the television networks outraged at tanking? No, they're outraged at load management. They don't like it when Shai Gilgeous-Alexander skips a Thunder Spurs game. They don't like it if Luka skips a Lakers-Celtics game. But what do they care if the Pacers or the Jazz or the Kings tank? Or, if the Nets don't play their best 3 players? They don't even know who the Nets' best 3 players are. So what do they care? The networks don't care. And I think the fans, in some ways, don't care. Now, if you're in an extended tank, 5-6 years, everybody's tired of that. But I just don't know that it's the most serious problem we've got. I think the load management's a lot bigger problem for the league than tanking.
Yeah, I agree. They're cousins, though, because the teams that are tanking learned that load management works to their benefit. So they're kind of cousins in that regard. But what matters to TV is the top third of the league. It doesn't matter if it's NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball. Tell me about the Packers. Tell me about the Cowboys. Tell me about the Yankees, the Lakers, the Dodgers. They care about the top third of the league.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the NBA is built on stars individually. And by definition, the tanking teams don't have stars, or else they wouldn't be tanking.
Well, they're trying to get stars.
Right, they're trying to get stars, and one person, one player can make a difference. We're all everyone around here is just hoping that somehow luck strikes Salt Lake City and they're the last team standing and they get somebody who actually likes living in Utah as a teenager, and that's this DeBonsa kid. I'm sure you've heard of him over there playing for the Cougars. His family's out here now. They're all over the place. You see them. They're hiking in the mountains. The A.J. DeBonsa, the women's team, is in the WBIT, and they play today, actually. And their last home game was last week. And there's DeBonsa at the game. You know how the players will go around the first row of the lower bowl, giving high fives and hugging the young ladies. The guy has bought in to Utah unlike anything we've ever seen from someone who's outside. So if they can score that, we just had Steve Cleveland on, who former coach at BYU and Fresno State, and he joins us, and he said if they can get DeBonsa, it would be the best thing that ever happened to the Jazz. Can you imagine that?
Well, I'm skeptical of that statement, but I hope it's true. I hope he does go to – well, actually, I don't. Selfishly, it's about time some of the East teams started winning these massive lotteries, right? I mean, the world would look a lot different if Charlotte had gotten Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, but you don't want a conspiracy. And when LeBron was coming out, guess who got the number one pick?
Yeah, man, yeah. I don't believe in conspiracy.
Explain it.
Well, I don't think the league would have sent LeBron to Cleveland. The networks don't care about Cleveland. They'd have wanted I can't remember who was the lottery order in 2005. Who knows? But I think it'd be great if DeBonzo went to Utah. That would be fabulous. I was pulling for the Cougars. Golly, the injury to Saunders just The Big 12, talk about bad luck. The Cougars lose JT Toppin at Tech and Saunders on back. I think it's back-to-back nights in February. That's two Final Four contenders, and they're both they don't get very far.
Right.
And then Jefferson with Iowa State.
Yeah.
You know, they go to the Sweet 16 without him, and you know, just, what a great year for the Big 12, but just didn't really materialize outside of Arizona, in part because of bad luck injuries.
And Luka Doncic was drafted by Atlanta and traded. Even if you get him to start, they're just going to give him away. There's no fix.
Well, that was up. Now, listen, Atlanta did that because their owner wanted Trae Young, who went to high school about 1.2 miles from my house. And I covered his dad in college. Rayford Young played at Texas Tech. And my brother has coached Trey's little brother in AAU basketball. So I'm all in on the Young family.
And now he's with a team that's tanking in Washington.
But that was idiotic. I mean, that was an owner that really needs his credentials revoked because, you know, I'm no scout. I don't care about draft prospects, any of that stuff. I don't. It takes about 11 seconds to figure out Luka Doncic is going to be a better pro than Trae Young. And for the Hawks, that was just dereliction of duty is what that was.
Before we let you go, how stunning was the story of Kyle Whittingham out at Utah and in at Michigan?
Well, I got to be honest with you guys. That's what when I opened this show by saying you guys can't stay out of scandal. That's what I was talking about.
I know that's what you were talking about. I knew it.
But here's the deal. It does not shine a good light on the University of Utah's business practices, because most times when you lose a great coach to a big-time school, that big-time school ends up paying you a nominal fee, right? $4 million, $3 million, $5 million, whatever great buyout the agent worked out. Utah lost to Kyle Whittingham and had to pay $13 million.
I know.
I mean, this is like
my taxes.
This is like this is like the Red Sox owner paying the Yankees to take Babe Ruth off his team. So, I don't.
Kyle Whittingham, the Babe.
I don't claim to be an expert on the Utes. Maybe it was time for Whittingham to go. I don't know, but it just seems like didn't cost you anything except a great coach, a great rush end, and $13 million. So, the good news is there is, and of course it'll also cost you your offensive coordinator. Now, the good news is Kyle did have the humanity to go to a school that has a quarterback in place that they got no interest in replacing. So our man Dampier can stay in Salt Lake.
Right.
But that's the consolation prize, and it's not a bad one. Could be worse, I suppose.
Yeah, Utah State just lost their basketball coach, and at least they got paid $3.9 million.
Well, there you go. Yeah, boy, he's a good coach. Were you all at the game, or did you watch it on TV? Utah State in the NCAA tournament. I thought Stan Van Gundy gave about the best endorsement of a coach the whole game long. He kept saying, "This guy's great on inbounds plays," and about 4 seconds later, Utah State would run a great inbounds play, and it just kept happening. And I think by the end of that game, everybody in America knew that Calhoun was a heck of a coach.
He is. He's really good. Yeah, I agree. I've been so impressed with him all year.
He's really good in a lot of things. He's good with them defensively, good on the inbounds. He's a really good recruiter. He's a really good fundraiser. He's really good with the media. He comes on our show. He seems like the total package. And I think Cincinnati ought to be really excited.
Well, they need one because they hadn't been doing well in hoops.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right, Barry, we'll leave it right there. We appreciate it. Thanks for joining us as always. And when we get another whiff of scandal around here, we'll call you so you can enjoy it.
That'll be fantastic. See you later.
Okay, thanks, Barry. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Everything you missed in this show, next.
Whirls around and down. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone is your exclusive home of the Utah Jazz. And we want to send you to the Delta Center to see the Jazz in action. Listen every Tuesday for the Jazz Ticket Tuesday Sounder at 30 past the hour, every hour, all day long. And if you're caller number 12, you'll be on your way to an upcoming game.
Buy one, you'll get one free.
It's Jazz Ticket Tuesday, every Tuesday throughout the NBA season on your radio home for the Utah Jazz. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car is gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Slacker Red Headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800 or visit their website at trajanwealth.com. Well, the big news this morning, local news, PK. Utah State has a new basketball coach, Ben Jacobson from Northern Iowa. He's a guy who's had a lot of stability in his career. He's been head coach there for 20 years. He's an assistant under Greg Dermott for 5 years before that. No buyout. According to some of the clips that we've seen from his contract that have been posted on social media, and elite defense, top 25 in the country, number one in the league. Took him to the NCAA tournament 5 times, had a couple 30-win seasons, had him in the Sweet 16 one time. A lot of success, pretty stable guy, but he is making the move to Logan at the age of 55. Maybe he'll bring some of that stability with him. 6 coaches in 10 years. I think Aggie fans are ready for some stability.
Yeah, I don't care about the buyout. I care about the buy-in.
Oh, now you're talking.
And he'll have it at the start. We'll see how it goes. I mean, you never have any idea how these things are going to work. I mean, you can assume this or that, and that's all it is. But, you know, you look at the qualifications on paper, makes sense. It'd be interesting to see why you wanted to leave. You know, you could have been an institution there, but you were capped. You had that great Sweet 16. I think if Northern Iowa wants to go to the Sweet 16, they need to have me watching the game in person, because when they went to the Sweet 16, I was there.
You were there.
Yeah.
You were there. Where were you?
Oklahoma City. The Cougars were playing there.
Okay.
And so I think that was Jimmer's junior year. And so the Sweet 16 I was there. So maybe.
Like you always say, when big things happen in Northern Iowa, PK is there.
Well, maybe if they go to the Sweet 16 here, I'll be covering it too. It's plausible.
No, it's not. Scotty will be there. He won't fly you too.
Yeah, but he's got work to do. He's not a reporter. He's just going to give you the party line. I'll be digging for the dirt. I mean, I got Pablo Mastroianni telling, there's PK digging for the dirt. He literally said that.
on the air. So we'll see how that happens. But it looks like it's good. It's qualified. It's somebody that will bring potentially stability. You never really know, because who's to say something Iowa opens up next year, and he's got roots in that state, right? And he wants to go back. Who knows? And you can't go into a hire worrying about, well, when's this person going to leave? You got to go with the Chris Hill mindset that if they leave for another job, that meant they did well while they were here. You're going to tell me, oh, they shouldn't have hired Urban Meyer because he was going to leave for another job?
No, had to hire Urban Meyer. Genius move. 2 years, move on, get another guy.
Right.
And it's like if they get hired away, it means you're winning big and you caught somebody's attention.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. We grew up on continuity, right? You were following the Dodgers, one of the 4 or 5 or 15 National League teams you have ties to. I was following the Dodgers, and they only had 2 managers my whole life. And I thought, well, that's how winners do it. They won. And then I came to Utah and Lavelle Edwards, all this continuity. Jerry Sloan, all this continuity. Just keep going down the list. But in this era of college basketball, where you have to remake the team every year, guys taking off for the pros, sometimes guys not even leaving for the NBA. Trent Plaisted left to go play in Europe at BYU one year. Guys are taking off. Guys are now in the transfer portal. You got to rebuild the team every year anyway. Maybe continuity in this era of college basketball has been devalued big time, because we got a decade now, 6 coaches in 10 years, but they've now gone to the NCAA tournament 6 times in 8 years. And they've won twice when they'd only won once in the previous 40 years.
Well, continuity is important, but success is more important than continuity.
Yeah, there you go. And they're having the success without the continuity.
Right. So maybe if they have it, they can have more success. Right?
Maybe he'll come in and do back-to-back Sweet 16s, right? Who knows?
Sure. Yeah,
and it will be interesting. You can see, looking at the history, there's a website you go to, you look at a school's entire history. And in the Stu Morrill Big West WAC era, Utah State got in the tournament and they were routinely seeded between 11 and 15. Now, in this era in the Mountain West, they were routinely seeded between 8 and 11, and they won a couple times. In another league, when they don't have Air Force and San Jose State dragging down all their analytics, and when they have Gonzaga boosting analytics in a way they haven't had before, is there a chance they're going to get 5 and 6 seeds? And that
I think the potential is there.
Plausible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Gonzaga is going to pump up your net, whatever that spiel is. I always call it RPI, but I guess that's not what it is. It's, to me, it's all the same.
The net rating.
Yeah, to me, it's still RPI. We can call it whatever you want. It's like 1A,
10 palms,
1A and 1 AA. They changed it all, and I refuse to accept those changes. That it'll increase, and then maybe you need to go play somebody on just one home basis. You don't get the return game, or find a way to get into the tournament here, or not the tournament. These tournaments that they have.
The tournament they need to get into is the one in Vegas, and that needs to be when he comes in. Between he and the athletic director, they need to figure this out. That Vegas spiel where they're paying the NIL money, they're supposed to be increasing that to 24 or 32 teams or something. Get into that thing. They're not going to have 32 teams all from the SEC into Big Ten. They're not going to invite. They're going to bring in some other schools. And Utah State can put butts in seats. They'll put fans in there.
I think if you love Scotty as much as you say you do, they need to get into the Maui one.
That one doesn't pay. That one costs money.
I don't care.
They need more NIL for their players. Okay, I like Maui as the backup plan. They're not going to want you in Vegas every year.
I covered it 3 times. That is worth going to.
Yeah. Before it doesn't happen anymore. Hurry up and go. All right, well, that's the big story. The other story, of course, the Final Four. That was an incredible rally from UConn, a tremendous collapse from Duke. The cool thing is so many Duke people made mistakes that they can all take some of the blame and share the load together. Caden Boozer had the last turnover, but on the split screen, you can see his coach pointing, telling him to pass the ball. The coach didn't know to dribble out the clock. So why is the kid supposed to know? And Cameron Boozer had a turnover before that. And the Evans kid they had to take out because he airballed a 3-footer and then fell down dribbling the ball. So they took him out. There were mistakes all over the course, but man, UConn's defense, that was That was next level that whole second half. Gave themselves a chance to get back in that game.
I think what it shows is the Final Four is UConn territory.
Oh, I see what you did there. UConn territory. Very nice.
Yeah.
Gold Rush jokes. Let's go. Arizona, Michigan is the game. The undercard is UConn, Illinois. But, hey, the winner of that game will have a puncher's chance. You never know. You never, ever know.
I want to see Michigan in a close game win and then shoot to the football coach like they were doing with Sarkisian in Texas and have him pumping his fists and high-fiving people.
He's a
as this
Michigan
diehard Michigan basketball fan.
Let's go, Kyle.
Yeah, I want him. He spoke about, obviously they always speak at the basketball game because they get hired during basketball season. That's predictable. But now be there, right there, living the dream, the lifelong dream to experience your love for Michigan basketball. Jay Hill will be there, Gennaro Guilford, everybody, man. They've been through the struggle with Michigan. Now it's time to reap the rewards.
They've been through the struggle. I just wonder how many Final Fours Kyle has to go to. If you go to men's basketball, that's in Indy, right?
It is this year, yeah.
Yeah. Then and the Michigan women are in regional final tonight, does he have to go to Phoenix for that? And if he's there, should just hop on over to Vegas where the Michigan hockey team is in the Frozen Four?
No. He's got spring ball. I mean, you got to take care of your most important thing. No, you go to the men. It's a shorter trip. The Michigan women ain't going to win. I already told you who's going to be.
No.
The
big dogs, it's UCLA. It's UCLA versus UConn.
Yeah, so stay local. Short trip, relatively speaking. Get down to Indianapolis, and maybe while you're there, pick up a recruit or two, and
how about a transfer? Go down to Bloomington, get yourself a transfer from Indiana.
That's what I mean.
Players.
Yeah. Well, everybody's got good players. The reality is everybody has them. You just don't have enough if you don't have a great team. But we've seen players come from losing situations to go to another team, and they're really good. And then they end up winning. So, yeah, Purdue is just sucked in football. I'm sure they've got good players, some of them.
Yeah. Well, Mendoza was at Cal, and they were just trying to get bowl eligible.
Yeah.
That's a special going on there.
Right.
And goes to Indiana, and they're undefeated. The Utah Jazz, that was a clutch loss. They did everything they could. They made all the wrong decisions for all the right reasons, or they made the right decisions for the wrong reasons. I don't know what it was, but they benched a bunch of guys in the fourth quarter when it looked like they might beat Denver. And that Washington game you pointed out, that was spectacular. The number of guys who were suddenly sick, needed to be rested, were injured. The tank, they're fully committed to it.
That was the best example of tanking, getting destroyed by Washington of all teams, which had been on a 16-game losing streak.
Yeah.
I do have a question. Is it Chandler Kennedy or Kennedy Chandler? Which one is that?
No. What are we talking about?
Kennedy Chandler.
The guy on the Jazz. The latest 10-dayer. It's Kennedy Chandler? Okay. He has a fan now in my sister.
Why is that?
Because, and thanks to Madeline and Locke of the Jazz, shout out to Madeline and Locke, my sister and her guy went to the game Saturday in Phoenix. And it was like, I'm going to the Eagles concert at the Sphere, and we're probably 20 miles out, maybe 10 miles out of Vegas. My wife's driving, I'm sleeping. The phone rings, and it's Locke. Hey, I got 2 tickets. Does your sister want to go? Yeah, I'll get in touch with her. Hello? Patrick. Yeah, hello? You want to go to the game? Yeah! And so I just gave her Locke's number, and so I didn't have to
figure it
there.
out.
Yeah, right. Because you don't no need to go for you people are college educated people. My sister has her doctorate, right? So you can figure this puppy out.
Without me.
Yeah. So then she texts me, "We're here," and I text her from the Sphere. So am I. And then she texts me later that she sat next to, is it Kennedy Chandler or Chandler Kennedy, Yuck?
It's going to be Kennedy Chandler.
She sat sitting next to Kennedy Chandler, Kennedy Chandler's cousin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So she got to know all about Kennedy Chandler. And there's no doubt at this time in our lives that for once she knows more about a jazz player than I do.
She's got the lowdown.
Yes.
For 10 days. Yay. Okay.
And last week we were joking. Riley sat in on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and he kept saying, Riley Jensen I'm speaking of, he kept saying that he was on a 3-day contract because we were talking about all the 10-dayers for the Jazz.
I'll give him one more day. Take care of Riley with another 1-day contract.
Yeah, he can't do Tuesdays, but yeah.
I hate it when that happens.
So that was we had fun with that. But yeah, man, I'm now in the 80 to 85% range that they keep to pick.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm in the 99.4 because I think there's legitimately a 0.6% chance that they could lose it while finishing with the 5th worst record.
Right. So that's why I can't go there. Because the fates
but you're
could,
at 85.
the fates
I'm
could
at 99.4.
conspire against them.
In Tankathon 2026, a big game, the Kings-Nets game, and the Nets are stuck on 19 wins. And I think the Kings are on 18 now. So neither one of them are getting to 21, and the Jazz are on 21. But the Mavericks won, so that group of teams with the Grizzlies and the Pelicans, they're all at 24, 25.
I understand.
So the Jazz are going to have the 5th worst record.
Plus, they have a fairly difficult schedule in the remaining, was it 7 or 6
Yeah, I've
games?
enjoyed the race to the bottom as much as anyone possibly could, but I'm over it. You know, you were over it a while ago. I'm really over it.
And the great thing about it, you know, I know that the NBA put forth tanking proposals for starting next season. Well, I don't care anymore.
The Jazz aren't going to be part of that.
Right. So it's irrelevant to me. Who the heck cares? If you're not tanking, who cares? And let the other teams tank, because when you play them, you stand a better chance to get a win that you may need to get into the playoff, or you may need to get a better seed in the playoff, right? So once the last game, once the 82, the buzzer sounds on 82, I no longer give a crap about tanking.
Tanking is somebody else's problem at that point.
Right, because they're not going to tank for conceivably another 10 years after this season, after it's over. I really believe that.
Could be. It'll be 3 for sure. Yeah. And then we'll see.
So I'll have no concern. And so I looked at that tanking stuff, and I thought, I don't need to worry about this anymore. It doesn't matter. It doesn't pertain to the Jazz. And I'm paid to talk about the Jazz.
And by the next time the Jazz tank, there's a decent chance whatever these rules are will have been changed, because they seem to get changed about every 5 years.
And there's even a better chance I'll be pushing up daisies.
There it is. PK just killed himself again. Unbelievable. All right.
Or planting daisies, maybe.
Okay, there you go. Now you're talking. A little gardening in your retirement years.
Yeah, you're supposed to do that,
you're
right?
You're more likely to be doing the Caddyshack scene where you're outside the clubhouse, 180 yards. He's got about an 8-iron. Boom, taking the head off the daisies. That's you.
Right, but I mean, I'll have my membership at Riviera, but that will only be 4 hours a day. So I'll still have to be I'll be in the gardening.
You're not gonna play 36 only 18.
No, it hurt the back.
He's going to be Mehmet Okur. He's going to need a second country club, so when the first country club is closed, he can still go to the club and play golf.
Okay, I'll go to. Well, I have to decide between the one Rolling Hills or the one in Palos Verdes, because there's 2 on the hill there.
DJ and PK, when we come back, your feedback next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is time for your feedback. Warren, take me off the ledge. Why is this a home run for Utah State? We are mostly underwhelmed after hearing some of the names reportedly involved in the search.
Like who?
The name that I heard was Mark Madsen.
There's no way. No.
That's what I said. You can ask Scotty G. I'm like, Scotty, what am I missing? Why would it be Mark Madsen?
It's not. It was never going. Madsen hadn't tweeted since the season, like deep in the season. And then last night he puts out a picture of himself at the airport, one last push.
In Oakland.
That was saying, I'm staying, people.
Staying here.
Yeah.
Stop with all the talk. It would be a huge pay cut. He would literally be giving up millions of dollars a year. He
went to Stanford, so you know he's smart.
Right? And after a little bit of a struggle there while he's getting his feet under him, they just had their best year. Seems like Cal could embrace the NIL and do pretty well in the long run if they want to. There's a lot of Cal grads with money. So it's a matter of finding those people and getting it up and running. And this year was clearly better than the year before.
And then who else was – no. You want an accomplished coach. Were we throwing a parade for Odom, Calhoun, Sprinkle, and they all did well?
Nope.
I can argue that of those three, this guy has more accomplishments than those three.
Yes. Yeah, I get why you would say that. Sprinkle came in with some accomplishments, so did Calhoun for that matter. But 20 years, a couple of 30-win seasons, a Sweet 16. Yeah. So
you want a basketball coach. You got a basketball coach.
You know, the thing I like best is that when you look, they weren't good like 4 years ago. And this is right coming out of COVID, right? Which, okay, everything's crazy then. And then the new rules start changing, and they're not good. And you can see how Northern Iowa and the New World Order, they might not be in a good spot in the pecking order. But now if you look like these last 3 years, they just keep getting better, and they're an NCAA tournament team this year. Clearly, he and the school were figuring out how to win in the New World Order, and they did it. Isn't that a positive? If he had 15 years of great results, but then wasn't good in the last 5, you could say, yeah, he was great, but he can't adjust to the New World Order. This is a guy who looks like he can adjust to it.
Well, I can tell you, I hadn't heard of Troy Calhoun, that's the Air Force football coach. I hadn't heard of Jared Calhoun. I'd heard of Sprinkle. Heard of him as a player because I used to do for the Sporting News in the magazines and that came out in the summer. I was assigned Big Sky, and his coach would always.
You remember the name?
Danny Sprinkle, yeah. His coach would always rave about him, right? And I'd heard of Odom, if for no other reason than his father was the Wake Forest coach. I hadn't heard of Calhoun, but if you would ask me yesterday, who's the coach at Northern Iowa, I would have told you Ben Jacobson. I've heard of him. He's been around. He's won. I know of him. Not that means, wow, it's great, but the guy is a basketball coach. He's been doing this for a long time. He knows how to coach basketball.
Denton's not excited. He says, well, over the last 10 years, his winning percentage is 55%. Okay, again, I would say that the 5 years didn't matter. It would be the last 4 or 5, and I'm more concerned with the trend than the total number of wins. They've been getting better. They've been figuring out the transfer portal and NIL. And ask any coach, there is a lot to figure out there.
I just want to know why he wanted to leave Northern Iowa, because you've been established there. And maybe it's his kids are older now, and he was waiting, and he didn't want to move them as coaches do and move them all over the place, blah, 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 blah. We've heard that story. I've heard that story 1,000 times from coaches. Coaches tell me going on the road so much just kills them as far as their kids, and they hate that. So maybe that's it.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're all done. Jake and Ben are up next, right here on The Zone.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.